Alright. Am I live? It looks like I am. Okay, microphone's all good. OBS just updated, so that's why I'm a couple minutes late. Sorry about that. Just making sure all my microphone's all good. OBS just up. Forgot I had the tab open. My apologies. How's everyone doing? Hope you all have been having a good day. Okay. We're gonna start with working on the bases today. So I've got all my Jakhals here. Got all of them good and ready to go. I've primed all of them black. I'm not gonna do like a zenithal highlight. That's mainly because I'm just gonna try and utilize the black as good shadows. I'm gonna see if I can do like a stippling effect for everything. Hopefully this works out how I think it is, but we'll see. We'll see. Hey Pierce, how you doing, man? Yeah. Today's been a day, man. Today's been a day. Okay. So let me get my brushes here. So I think the easiest way to do this, I'm probably going to use this brush to get all the base coat of purple down on all of these guys. All my paints are over here. Shit, I'm knocking shit over. So Pierce was here earlier. He said yo, but I don't know if he hopped out. I'm just gonna check this stream on my phone real quick. Sometimes there's connectivity issues and my computer doesn't really show it. Oh, looks like it's all good. Okay. Sorry about that. I guess we'll get back into it. Alright, so like I said, I'm gonna do a base coat of purple on all these wonderful little bases. Gonna do a little mixture of black with it though. Right. So, for anybody watching, how's your days been? I hope well. Hi, Paris. Welcome back. Stupid internet. I'm here now, though. Yay! Sorry to hear your internet was fighting you. How's your day going? I hope good. Hope very, very good. Yeah, just gonna put the dark purple coat on all the bases. Should be a fairly quick process. I'm not really worried about nicking my finger too much. Yeah. Hey, Matthew Gordon, welcome. Howdy. I'm at work and the connection sucks, so I'll be in and out. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm happy to have you in any capacity you want to be here, man. It's good to have you. Good to have you. I'm not gonna lie. Today has been a day, man. Been a fucking day. I was actually really looking forward to today too, all week. Like I was like, oh, I'm gonna have like a fun like, I'm gonna have a fun but short D&D session with my group, and I'm gonna have some fun, and then I'm gonna like end off my free time during the day to go and chat and have some Warhammer hobby time with Wheezy Pillar, and finally get to do a podcast type setting thing with some another like content creator in the space and have a good time. I mean, because for those who don't know a little bit of a background, uh, like back when I first defended Arch 3 years ago, that was on the table for me, and it got taken. Like I didn't get to end up doing that because I became tainted goods to that content creator as well. I say as well. My apologies to that content creator. And so when this opportunity came around recently, I was super excited. And I don't know, maybe I'm just cursed. Maybe I'm just cursed. I don't know. I just don't seem to be able to. I don't want to be doomerish. I just wanted to get it out of the way because it's been on my mind and thought I'd voice it. The rest of this is hopefully going to be positive. Get it out of my head. After all, hobbying is the whole point of it is to get stuff like this off your mind, to relax. It didn't go well? Unfortunately, no. It went extremely unwell, sadly. Yeah. I don't know what happened. It was starting out great. It was starting out good. We were having a good conversation. Everybody seemed to be getting along. I don't know. I was having a good time, and I just said I didn't like a game, and I don't know. I don't know. I guess I did wrong, but I just didn't. I still don't see what I did. I guess I have an opinion, I suppose. I don't know. I do want to stress it's not on Wheezy Pillow though. Like it's not his fault. It's just stuff happened, I guess. I mean, yeah, I don't think I was in the wrong, but I don't know. Maybe I could have worded myself better. Maybe I could have approached more appropriately. I don't know. I don't know. Everybody seemed to be having a good time. I don't know. I just don't know what I did. But I am happy for Wheezy Pillow though and his success. Like it's good to see another creator hit 2K subs. It is like, especially when they're an honest, decent person like Wheezy is. You don't see that too often anymore. Hey, Lady Runesong. Sounded like a simple misunderstanding. The rest of the stream was fun though. I mean, I guess. I don't know. I think the thing that has stuck with me most of the day is when CDAT said. When CDAT said to me, "I don't care how many viewers you have," or something akin to that. I don't know. I haven't been able to. This is just how my brain works sometimes. Like sometimes your brain like sticks to things and then starts like cooking things up about it, and I guess I could call it paranoia, but that's stuck with me the wrong way. Like all while I was at work, my head was constantly reverbing back to that, and I kept thinking, wait, was I asked on just because I have like double or triple or whatever it is Wheezy's subs? Was I asked on because I'm a bigger creator, or was I asked on because I'm a fellow hobbyist that they wanted to talk to? I don't know. Before that stream, I would have said the latter, but I don't know. After that, I'm not so sure. And a comment like that, to me, is very reflective of a mentality, and I don't know. It could also be ego. I don't know. I don't know. It's just been stuck in my head all day. I've been trying to get it out, and hopefully hobbying will do the trick. Hopefully hobbying will do the trick. Hey Zoid, welcome to stream. Hi Asmogan, just got the notification. Might be a little quiet in the chat for a few. I'll be checking in on Amino communities. Oh, that's fine. Be happy to have you whenever you want to be here. Hey, Hollow Arc. What are you missing here? Earlier today, I was in a stream with Wheezy Pillar. He invited me on earlier in the week. Well, actually, the first time he invited me on was like on Twitter like a month ago. But I missed that one. But the invite for this stream was earlier in the week, and I went on to hang out and to have a conversation and kind of, you know, have a good time. That's what I was there for. That's what I was there for. Yeah. Again, I don't want to weigh down you guys with this. I'm sure all of you have had a long day. I'm sure all of you might have even had a worse day than me. So, a little bit of a bad interaction is hardly anything to, you know, dwell on forever. It's just been lingering, you know. I think it would have been better if I had had just a straight out like horrible argument than like it start out so good and then it fall apart. I think that kind of hurt as well a little bit more. Because I got a taste of what like the good hangout was going to be, and then it fell apart in front of me. Was it Wheezy had a bad internet? No, it wasn't Wheezy. It was one of his co-hosts. Co-host, co-guest. I'm not sure this breakup there. One of his regulars. I'm not gonna say his profile because I don't think any of you will like go after him or anything or start anything. It's just unnecessary. But it's someone I've spoken with before in the community, and I've only ever had good interactions with him. Like I would have said we were friendly before that, but I don't know. Like he interpreted everything I said in the least charitable way he possibly could. He started name calling. He insinuated things about me. It's just I don't think I earned any of that. I don't. I don't think I earned any of it. Happens, you know. That's life. That's life. Sometimes you have bad interactions, sometimes you have good interactions. Can't always have one or too much of the other. And for anyone just joining, I'm currently doing all the base work for the Jakhals. I've actually forgotten which base goes with which of the minis, so this will be an interesting puzzle game. Trying to figure out what's supposed to go where. My fingers are purple. I must have killed one of the cousins of the Smurfs. Hey, Nathan. Boy, I sure like it was... Yeah. You know, and to be fair to the individual in question, they might have been having a bad day. I don't know. I'd like to think so. I'd like to think all that didn't actually come from such a distasteful opinion of me. Like... I'd like to think that. I don't know. I don't know what their day's been like. Maybe they got some bad news earlier in the day. Maybe... I don't know. I don't know. I think sometimes I take, like... You know, don't think this is like victimhood or anything like that. But I do sometimes think I take this kind of bad interaction a little worse than most people. Because I have Asperger's. For those who don't know, that's ASD, autism spectrum disorder. I'm autistic, medically speaking. And I'm autistic in the internet terms. But, I don't know, like, throughout my life, whenever I have a bad interaction, I tend to blame myself, first and foremost, because usually it's my fault. Usually I said the wrong thing, or I interacted in a way that I thought was appropriate, but it just broke social taboos. That kind of also kind of affects how I take it. Oh, I think I didn't put enough black in there. It's a little too purple. There we go. Lady Runeson said, I wouldn't worry about the intent of the stream. We're all here to uplift each other, and it was like the digital equivalent of hosting a double birthday. A double birthday. What's a double birthday? Nice shade of purple, by the way. Can't say I've seen such an alien color for terrain in a while. Yeah, I think it's pretty appropriate for... I think it contrasts really nicely with the corn colors. So, I'm going with a darker purple, and then I'm going to dry brush over it with a lighter shade of purple. It's kind of interesting how the Jakhals, all of their bases are 28mm, except for their lieutenant sergeant equivalent. Like, for some reason, he has a a 40mm base. I have no fucking idea why. It's absurdly bigger than the rest of the squad. Like, this is the size of a base I'd expect from an HQ. Not from, like, a lieutenant. Or, like, slightly higher ranked member of the squad. Seems a little overboard. Note, did you see the old world orc stuff? I did see the old world orc stuff. I think it looks cool. Honestly, if I get into old world, I'm probably going to do them. I'm probably going to do the orcs. I mean, super big orc player for 40k. I mean, I can't imagine the mentality is too different. I think it's, my guess is it's roughly the same. Alright, so we've done the dark shade of purple. I mean, that one didn't come out so good like the rest of them, but, it'll be fine. Close enough. And a nerd. What kind of paint is this? This is acrylic. Right? I'm pretty sure they're acrylic. Yeah, acrylics. So it's a acrylic miniature model paint. So now I use Citadel. This is their game color set, but I use them primarily for most of the colors. Hello, hello. How are you, my friend? Welcome, Hooch. How have you been? I'm a big introvert, so I miss a lot of social stuff and need to recharge after a while being around too many. Yeah, that's me. I experience that quite often. It's the beauty of the life, you know. That's because it's all bulky. It's all bulky. Oh wait, do you mean like the this, like the actual physical terrain, not the color? The terrain is intentional. It's meant to be. That's not the paint. The paint is the color over it. The the terrain is just, it's a model paste. It's kind of like a not a clay, but oh, it's a texture paint. By the way, quick kudos to yourself for still using the old 40k logo in these thumbnails rather than the new one. I mean, of course, the original is way better. Like, the original logo is the real logo. The new one, I'm sorry, it looks too... Like, the old one is, like, bold, metallic, strong. David Howe, welcome to the stream. How do you feel about 3D prints? I am very pro 3D printing. I have 2 Anycubic Mono X 4K? It's either 8K or 4K, something like that. I have 2 of those and 2 wash and cure machines. And I also have an old Photon X something. I can't remember the name of the brand. But, yeah, I have multiple 3D printers. I haven't used them in a while. I haven't had to. And I recently moved in this area here. So I haven't had a good spot to set them up. I think I have a good one now, but I'm debating on... That's too close to Windows and resin. Just got a few printers around Black Friday. I've been loving it. Awesome to hear. Awesome to hear. It really upgrades your hobby. Even if, like, the thing is, the biggest advantage is being able to straight up 3D print whole armies without having to expend too much money. That's the biggest advantage. But even if you're just looking to, like, upgrade, like, kit bashing and stuff, it's such a huge boon to have a 3D printer. It's just such a huge boon. It can really, really improve your hobbying. Alright, so we're now going to dry brush on these, the light shade of purple I want to do. After that, we're pretty much done the bases. I got to paint this rock black and then do like a silver dry brush over that. But that's the very last thing to do. And I think I can wait out until after we started working on these guys. Got about 10 of them to do. I have 20 in total to do, but 10 of them haven't been assembled or primed. This is just the kit I've been working on stream lately. So what would be a good size? Is this too big? Ah! Whoops. Alright, so think. I don't think that's too big. I think it's the right size. Yeah. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, so we're gonna use this to dry brush on. Well, is it too? It might be too big for those ones. We'll probably use this one for all the smaller ones. So we'll set that there. Let's move these guys closer to the camera view. Boom. All right. So where's my purple? There's my purple. Shaker on up. Moving on up. Doop, doop, doop. Moving on up. Doop, doop, doop. Drop a little bit of purple. Drop a little bit of white. And then we got ourselves some mixology. Hoach said earlier, I'm now a part of the Legion. Awesome to hear. I'm glad you are now a member. The Legion is strengthened by your presence, my friend. Alright. So I think I'll use that to actually do the mixture. I put it on the wet palette. I don't know if that's going to work against me. Probably is. I probably should have done that in the dry palette. Yeah, let's mix it up, and let's see if I can get away with it. I just put it on the wet palette, so we'll see. Might not be able to get away with this. Alright, so... no, it's coming off. Right, so it's a little bit of sparkly stuff. Actually, that kind of works for the terrain a little bit, because the mineral deposits on the planet are supposed to be kind of a silvery feeling, so that kind of shiny sheen actually kind of works. I think that's left over from the silver I used on this. But again, it works fine. There we go. Much more opaque. That's what Daddy asked for. Boom. Proper alien terrain. There are some people who actually write off dry brushing. I'll never understand that. I edit my autofocus here. That's not auto, it's manual focus. Regardless. And we are. Happy accident. Happy little accident. Like Bob Ross, channeling his inner energy. Doing him proud. Alright, looking good, looking good. Dry brushing is one of my favorite things to learn about. Can't wait to try it for real. Hey, I mean, it's a lot of fun. Dry brushing is very straightforward, but there is a nuance to its approach. A little bit. Not, like, too much. Yeah, you'll get the hang of it after a little bit of practice. That's all it takes is a little bit of practice. There are some people who could straight up, like, paint entire armies, though, with just dry brushing. I'll never be able to do that. Like, but I've seen some crazy, like, techniques people have used with dry brushing. Now, the popular meta method to painting armies quickly tends to be, tends to be, if I'm not mistaken, slap chop. Slap chop, which is basically just doing a zenithal highlight on minis and then using contrast paints over them, so you don't have to do any like edge highlighting, because you do a zenithal highlight and then you dry brush with you do a zenithal highlight with a gray, and then you dry brush the miniature with white, and then you use contrast paints over all that, and that basically spares one from having to do too much of really anything. I got some 3D printed stuff I still need to assemble. A Sentinel Walker, an Imperial Knight, a mobile artillery piece, a bunch of guardsmen, and a few sisters. Nice. I better see some painting progress. Wow, both methods sound daunting. Not really. You just gotta like jump into it. There's some great tutorials out there. Slap chop is super simple. Yeah, you just prime the mini thoroughly in black, not thickly, but like make sure you got a solid coat of black. And then just overhead of the miniature to simulate like where light is coming from, you do a couple, a spurts of gray, and then you let that dry, and then you dry brush the mini all over with a dry brush of white, which will catch all the edges. Once that's done, you then just apply the contrast paints from Citadel to whatever it is applicable to. I'm not too... That needs a little bit more. There we go. Shop up is super easy. And in my experience, it has been super easy. Great results, low effort. Pretty much. I'd say it sounds more intimidating when you describe it, but if once you actually try it out, it's like, oh, okay. You can almost do this on autopilot. I will say this, Slap Chop would get really boring to do like every single time though. I'd say Slap Chop, I'd say reserve any like speed painting methodology for your infantry and for like your basic units, and then you move on to for like big, like for example, Angron. I have to do Angron soon. I wouldn't use Slap Chop on Angron. Not because it wouldn't look good. It would look perfectly good. In fact, it would look great. But I think with like big models like that or more significant models like that, I think you should take your time to just do manually all the base coding, manually the highlights where you want to do it, the panel lighting, like everything you should take like time to do. I won't say the proper way because that implies that there's a right or wrong way to do it, but do it the long way. I'll put it like that. Do it the long way because it makes the work you do a lot more personable. And I think it breeds more pride in the end result. But that could just be me. I'm weird. There we go. Actually, I missed a couple comments earlier. Hold on, let me zip up here real quick to see what I missed. Okay, at risk of bringing this back up to answer this, Hollow Arc asked, the hell, what was the spark? Any particular topic that brought it on? It Dark Tide, the video game. That's it. I basically can leave it there, I guess. To give more specificity, I just mentioned how I didn't like it at launch and didn't intend to play it going forward. It's pretty much all I said. At least that's all I thought I said. I can't think of, I don't know. You'd have to ask any of the other members of the call if I said, like, I don't know. They told me I was implying things, and I've been racking my brain about it. Every time I think back to it, basically you can break down what I said to. I didn't like it when it came out. I don't intend to keep playing it. I haven't played it recently. That's it. Like that's all I thought I said, but I don't know. Teague the Hut, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Thank you. Generosity is greatly appreciated. Just wrapped up my D&D session. Party explored a shipwreck. They didn't keep watch, so Harpies got the jump on them. The best part was a mimic rowboat. Oh, that's devious. I gotta use that. A mimic row. I love it when dungeon masters do that shit. Like, if you're a DM, be experimental. Like, you don't need to use monsters as written. Now, I'm very experimental with some of the monsters I've used. But, like, do not be afraid to just try random shit. I think some DMs, like, especially if you're a newer DM, you hesitate to experiment because you're like, oh well, if I go too far off the beaten path, or what if I like write down the stats wrong? And what if it? Trust me, like to all young DMs out there, your players will appreciate not only the effort you put into it, but they'll appreciate the creativity and giving them a unique experience that no one else will get because you did something experimental. You tried something. Now, it may not be unique necessarily, like it might have been done before, but for them, it's it's a unique, rare experience. And no matter if the concept has been done before, it doesn't matter. Your approach will most certainly differ. So I highly encourage experimentation, trying stuff out. Obviously, try and make it as fair for the players as possible. Don't go super off, kilter. But, try shit. Your players will appreciate it. Welcome, Samurai Mind. Ahoy! Salute! Welcome. How you doing? I'm dry brushing the bases for my Jakhals. It's almost done doing that. Yeah, I unfortunately made the mistake of putting the fucking color. There we go. Crap. It's okay. I can salvage that a little bit. Why do you always stab a rowboat when you get into it? Mimics. It's like the rowboat sank. Good, it's not a mimic. What are you talking about? That's the other thing. Like the memories of that stuff can actually be like if you're a DM, you can use that against your players. You can start making them paranoid about shit. It's great. My players are. I think my players are a bit paranoid about approaching situations. I know that doesn't make sense. Oh, I wanted to word that, but the wording completely failed. I have to say, I'm so glad I found your channel. I'm glad you found it. Welcome. Welcome, how you doing? I'm assuming you were brought in by the latest... No, maybe not the latest coverage, but the recent coverage of, like, all the warhammer stuff, I assume. Hope you've been enjoying your stay. There we are. Alright, good. We are done with the bases. We're done with the bases. That's what the bases look like. And again, it's now going to be a puzzle game to figure out which minis go where. There we go. Boom. Okay, so we got that out of the way. Well, don't want to do that right. I'll do it before I forget. Because I will probably. Where is my brush? Is one of my brushes. Of all themes to enter my brain, it had to be fucking Indiana Jones. Alright, so since I'm going to be lifting this up, let's zoom in now. Move the light over a little bit more. That way it's actually... There we go. Caveman Media, welcome. My father made me acutely aware of misplaced doors. I sense an evil laugh in the distance. Oh god, it's so fun. Again, like, young DMs out there, do not be afraid to experiment. You will only thank yourself later. There we are. Good, good. Alright, so I think I want to make sure it's a thick coat of black. Yeah, because once that's black solidly, I'm going to dry brush over it with a silver color. Because hopefully it's going to look very similar to the base I made for the Mauler theme. The idea is the whole army is going to have a cohesive theme. I don't like making different bases for different units in an army. I like them to have a succinct, coherent pattern and style to them. Hold on. Yeah, you popped into my feed. Sorry, popped into my recommended a few days ago, and have been watching your backlog since. Oh, okay. So you've been watching the backlog. So what of my content is most interesting to you? I'm curious. I know what I hope it is, but I'll ask all the same. It's been a year, nearly two, since I played D&D, but mainly been play the Death Watch and now Rogue Trader. Hey, nice. Nice. I've been meaning to play Only War at some point, but I don't want to tangent. I'm already like I originally had a Cyberpunk Red campaign going with my players, and then that like shit went south with that. I'm still saving that. Like I plan to go back to it for my players at some point, just probably no time soon. But we switched to D&D just because it felt right to start over, so to speak, for something new, quote unquote. And at some point we'll go back to Cyberpunk Red, but you know, in the far future, once you know we've kind of run our course with the campaign we're on, everyone seems to be having fun, and I have enough planned for a while with their current D&D campaign. But eventually, it'd be nice to play Only War or maybe also some Death Watch. I know I've never got to play the TTRPGs for Warhammer, believe it or not. It's weird to say that, but it's true. Like I've done D&D and then I've done 40K, but I've not done basically D&D 40K. Come to me, my child. Yeah, so already we're kind of matching themes here, which is what I'm happy about. But as you can see, these got like a silver sheen on them. That's a dry brush of just a silver, Vallejo's silver. I plan on making all of them have a cohesive theme. So, yep. So far, we're matching styles. I like how my Mauler Fiend is, so it'll be nice to match. It'll be nice to match. Easy there, buddy. I'll give him head pats later. You love Cyberpunk Red? Awesome. I liked your video about how we need females. One of these days, Tiki. One of these days. I play Death Watch, but I love to play Only War and Black Crusade. And yeah, I particularly want to play Only War because I believe that's the Guardsman one, or the human one, so to speak. So it'd be really cool to, like, humans in 40K. Everything's so fucked for them, so... Well, I'd just be there to see how long I last. I wish I was more confident in them to DM them, but if you do an online game or WE, I'm definitely down to play. For D&D or for TTRPG, I mean, we're in the middle of one right now, and I think I lost a player recently, so I guess technically, I don't know. I'm not eager to fill that spot at the moment. But hey, you know, reach out to me maybe in a while longer, and we'll catch up on that maybe. I have wanted to get into the tabletop for so long. My nephew plays it hardcore. Awesome. Wait, play it with your nephew. Wait, I'm probably saying something. You probably do. Sorry, I read that in my mind. Like you said, like, oh, he plays it hardcore. So I know my brain sifted out like that. You may not play with. I don't know, like that'd be a cool bonding thing. Like my dad and I bonded over video games a little bit when I was a kid. So I'm just trying to catch up with the chat, and then I'll get back to it. Gives me a second for let my fingers to dry anyway. I like the painting you do. Also, your advice on the actual game, and your views on the woke mind virus. So far, pretty much all of it. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it, man. Hopefully you also enjoy the. I got some lore videos up. I have the In a Nutshell series, which are comedic, short summarizations of 40K lore. And then recently, I've switched to doing long form lore. I have 2 videos of that. There's the War in Heaven I covered, and the Black Templars. And I think I've decided on for the month of February the next lore video. I think, but I'm not going to say it just in case I change my mind. I'm going to start the script tomorrow because I have tomorrow off. And that'll give me time to do all the research, see if I can find any audiobooks. Because believe it or not, I don't just go off the wiki. I do use the wikis initially to find sources, because basically I just skip down to wiki pages, their source pages. That way I can find the books where they got their information, and then I try and take that from the source. I usually only use the wiki if, like, I'm in the middle of editing the video and there's something I want to double check real quick, but that's about it. Mexican Oni, welcome to stream. How you doing? Hey, what's up, man? Just joined your stream. I got a new mini. Awesome. That I'm painting now as Ultramarine. Thank you for your pointers last time. They really helped me a lot. Well, I'm glad they helped, man. That makes me very happy to hear. Because the last thing I want is someone coming in going, dude, your advice sucked. My mini looks ugly as shit, man. I blame you. Oh, that would suck. So I'm glad the advice helped. I try and only give helpful advice. Please give me nice long lore. I love it. I'm glad you love it. I'm glad you love it. Unfortunately, though, my long-form lore videos haven't been doing amazing. Okay, so I think that's dry. They haven't been doing amazing, but they haven't been doing bad, I guess. Like widely for my channel, I tend to get, on average, for like, drama, wokeoid reporting, I tend to get, on average, like, 500 to 600 views a video. Like, the recent uptick for the... Like, you can actually kind of see it in the recent uploads. Like, because you see my, like, I call it the Wargamer article in Hellstorm Wargaming. I then talked about Wokehammer being afraid. And both those videos, I think, are at 10,000 views now, which is awesome. Welcome, Hunty, to the stream. Welcome. But then, 2 days ago, I covered the Las Vegas Open. And if I'm not mistaken, that video has 300 views. Maybe less. And then I covered the Rad Hom's bullshit take on Twitter, and now that's at 3.4K, and that's a day old. So, you know, it's pretty clear what does best on the channel, and I don't blame anybody for that. I'm not, like, requiring anybody to watch any specific content in the channel. Although, I wish, you know, the lore videos were doing good. I wish the algorithm actually picked those up and pushed them. But I also know at the same time that there's so many creators out there who do so many lore videos. Mine are at the bottom of people's interest list, probably. I'm not too worried about it, though. Alright, so let me find my silver. Did I already grab it? Nope, that's Stonewall Gray. Ah. Yeah, pretty basic Plata Silvier. Oh, Silvier. Alright, where's my paper towel go? Oh. I'll use this one. Just use the, actually, I think I can use this side. Where's my dry palette? I only need a little tiny bit, so. Yeah, to be fine to poop one out. There we go. La da da da. It's so silvery, it's reflecting the light of the lamp. So automatically, like, this stream is actually improving my mood. I'm doing much better. You know, I want to thank you guys for coming out and hanging out with me and chatting. It is improving my mood. You know, my day's been... Well, again, I don't want to make it out to be I had a... there are definitely people out there who've had a worse day than me, you know. I can't complain too much. It just... I would have wished it would have gone better, but... Hey, this ain't a bad way to end the day, right? There we go. Got a nice silvery sheen. Got that mineral rock. Boom. And there's no rocks in the rest of them, so that makes that easy. I saw the debate between Radham and Arch. Man, I could not stomach much of Radham's smugness and how bad his arguments were. Yes, the arguments, they were bad. And the thing is, again, I stand by that, and I don't know anything about him. I don't want to start a war or anything with him. But counterpoints, I really stand by he was a terrible moderator. Again, that's nothing to say who he is as a person. I'm not saying anything to his character. Solely on the role of moderating the debate, I think he did a terrible job. I do need to check out his content at some point, though. People told me that he does, apparently he does politics and he does 40k, kind of like Arch does. Although I don't know. I'm definitely interested in the 40k stuff, probably not the politics. It's an honor to be here. Yay. and not tired, so I get to see this. Nice. Well, I'm glad you chose to tune in, my friend. Maybe you could do introductions for a variety of universes like Magna Gothica. Did I read that correctly? I hope I did. Magna Gothica, Melgast, or Malifaux or Malifox, etc. But it would require a lot of reading, so I don't know how far you'd want to go. I mean, right now, I want to stick with 40k, and hopefully 40k won't go pure woke at any point. So, 40k is my passion, and obviously, I don't want to just jump into other universes that I haven't formulated a passion around. Because honestly, I think what makes my lore videos as fun as they are to make is that I'm so passionate for 40k lore, and I collect the books and the novels. Move my fat head here. I collect the codexes and the books and everything. I like to read them. I like to listen to them on audiobook. Like, I'm enthralled to get into it. And I'm not saying that can't happen for another setting, but getting into a setting and formulating passion takes time. It's not something that instantly happens. Well, not often anyway. Usually it takes some, getting used to and kind of feeding into the hobby a bit. So, I definitely want to look into other settings. I'm developing my own. Like, I'm working on a tabletop war game at the moment, which is still in development. I'm the only one working on it, so sadly, progress is slow. But, I'm working on my own at the moment, trying to keep up, YouTube here and working on 40k, so, trying to balance, doing the balancing act of time is the difficult part. Do I want to start with the big guy, or do I want to do one of the smaller guys? Well, I'm going to basically batch paint them. Alright, so let's put the bases on the side here. Again, I'm going to have to do a puzzle game to figure out. This guy is the easiest one. Big guy, big base. Everybody else has a smaller base. So, I got to be careful. Trying to decide where I want to start with him. Sorry, let me change focus here because I'm going to be holding him up a lot. Do I want to start with this? I guess I could start with the skin because technically speaking, that's the most prominent thing on him because he's exposed musculature. But, I actually want to try something with him. Like, this is experimenting, so you're about to see me try something. I can't promise it'll look good. I'm gonna mix a skin tone and a brown color. I haven't tried to paint like a black person before, if that makes sense. Not because I'm racist, but because it's easier. Like, I literally have paints called pale skin. I don't have a brown colored paint that says it doesn't say like African American skin or whatever the fuck. So I'm gonna try and do that now. I don't know how this is gonna look. I guess for a base coat, I'll do brown and a dash of black. Because I think that, because I'm looking at, like, for a dark skin tone. So either this is going to look really bad or it's going to look really good. One of the two. Alright, so I'm going to do a dash of black in there. Let's see if that darkens it as much as I want it to. It kind of did. Alright, so yeah, it's giving that little chocolatey look. There we go. Alright, so let's see if I got the skin tone I was looking for. Pretty much. It's a little lighter, but it might dry darker, so let me do a full coverage here. Try not to hit the straps. Alright. This is my first time doing a darker skin tone, but I think it's actually looking pretty good. I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, just with, like, an initial coat that's still drying. To answer a question from one of your older painting streams, my favorite legion is the salamanders. Ah, good choice. Very good choice. Yes, the salamanders are up there for a lot of people, I've noticed. Which is lovely to see, because for the longest time, like, it seemed like everybody's favorites were either Ultramarines, Black Templars, which, to be fair, I'm on that category. Call me stereotypical. Black Templars, Ultramarines, Imperial Fists, or Iron Warriors. Like, obviously that last one's Traitor, but those seem to be, like, the most popular ones. Obviously, you know, people are going to be like, but I'm a fan of Blood Angels, but I'm a fan of the Iron Hands, etc. But I think objectively, like, those are, like, the most popular ones. Like, those are the ones people seem to latch onto the most. As far as I've seen, you know. That's good to me. Awesome. Good. He's watching his review of Hammer and Bolter, the guy that moderated the debate. Okay. Counterpoints. It's good content? Okay, cool. Well, that gives me a bit more confidence in checking it out and hopefully being entertained by it. I mean, like I said, I had nothing against the guy as a person. Most of my issues were his moderating was eh. But I'm sure he's probably a good creator. Like, I have no reason to think he's not. There's one... Get off my fucking brush. Sorry, there's a little hair on my brush. I hate it when that happens, because that always causes the paint to spread wrongly. So the rule book, the first thing I should buy, or should I have save for the starter set? Personally, I think you should get the starter set if you're gonna go for, like, if you're going all in on the tabletop. It's expensive, but that kind of applies to the whole hobby in terms of advice. So I don't know what your budget is. I'd say if you're smartly budgeting and you just want to buy, you don't mind buying things slowly, one at a time. And if you want to take time to, like, look over the rule book, read it through, make sure it's all for you, I would suggest. I would certainly suggest, like, if you're willing to do that, probably just get the rule book first, read it over, look through it, and then get the starter set. Once you're, confident you understand the rules, at least from a rules as written standpoint. But if you have friends to start playing with, like, right now, and you want to, like, jump in, then just get the starter set and let your friends kind of fill in the blanks as you go. That is my respectful opinion. Welcome, Winter Jolt, to the stream. How you doing? Good evening. Listening to your stream while prepping for a job interview for tomorrow. Ooh. Good luck, man. I hope you get the job. Presumably it's a job you're eager and excited to get into. Yeah, man. Congrats, though. Like, hopefully you get the job. I'm gonna do the brain part a little bit different. Sorry, little bass. I keep knocking you around. Yeah, I'm actually really happy with that so far. Like, the skin, it actually looks like a brown skin tone. Okay, cool. Actually, I saw a meme. I wish I saved it, but I saw a meme like a month ago where someone's like, how to paint salamander skin, and it showed a picture of a gray mini, and then the next picture, like, the guy, like, sprays, like, black paint all over it, and then the third frame is just the guy, like there's the mini's, like, lying there completely covered in black paint, and the guy just has like a thumbs up, kind of like this. All done. I was like, come on, at least add a gray shade to it. Come on. Honestly, like if I were to paint, like if I were asked to paint like a Nocturne skin right now, I would probably do like I'd probably like add a dash of black to Stonewall Gray for like Vallejo colors, or a similar gray for Citadel. I do a dash of black in there, mix it so it's a dark gray, cover the skin, and then do a wash with Nuln Oil. And I think that would be pretty dead on. Like just that would be a fine like quick and dirty Nocturne skin color. And if I wanted to get fancy with it, I then add highlights of basically this base gray on top of it. I think that's what I would do for like Nocturne skin colors. Oh yes, it's a dream job. Oh, then I absolutely hope you get it, man. If you get your dream job, then that's it. Like you've got life set. Honestly, I envy people who have jobs that are their dream jobs. A friend of mine named Caboose kind of has one. He's a truck driver, and he loves it. And in his own words, he's never worked a day in his life while he's been there, doing truck driving. He gets to see the whole country. He gets to travel and have cool little adventures, and almost get shot in Chicago. Go through Detroit with nothing but a prayer on his back and a target. But yeah, I don't know. For me, I've yet to find the dream job. Well, I found the dream job, but it doesn't pay, so I gotta find a practical dream job. Which is the struggle at the moment. My day job is not my dream job, but that's his life. Not everyone can find their dream job, which is why, in your case, Winter Jolt, I'm extremely eager to hear you've got that job. I want you to get that job. I want you to stop working for a living and start living for work. I want to hear that news, so I hope to hear the good news, man. Hope to hear the good news. And good luck. Because you've earned it. You've earned a good job and steady pay and a happy life. Good luck. What would you say is /are the most difficult armies to play against with your own preferred army? Like I play orcs, that's my preferred army. I've yet to play, like I'm painting my World Eaters army right now, so I've yet to play my World Eaters, so I'll find that out. But my guess is they're probably going to be the same answers, because World Eaters and orcs play very similarly, very melee focused, very like jump in, run in, and be a psychopath. So my presumption is, oh sorry, not my presumption. Well, it's my presumption for World Eaters, but what I know to be the answer for orcs. For orcs, the most difficult armies to play against is Tau. Like hands fucking down, Tau. If I go to a tournament and I'm going to a tournament this Sunday, and I might have to end up playing my orcs because I don't know if I'm trying my best to get all of my World Eaters painted, but I'm not doing it very well. But I might go with my orcs, but I'll tell you this, if I see on the tournament bracket I've been paired with a Tau player, I'm like, fuck. I'm about to die. Because orcs, their shooting is god-awful. Like, we're talking 5-ups. In some cases, 6-ups. They are... like, if you're not running Ludas or Flash Gets, don't bother with... just run. Run in, like, run in or find cover and pray. Like, may Gorkin Mork shield me from bolter fire. Please. Like, that, or you get lucky. Like, if you are just, like... you are Lady Luck's best friend. Every time you roll that fucking dice, you get goddamn 6s, and you're just blowing. Like, I'll tell you this. I shared this story last painting stream. I beat a Tau player using orcs, and I beat them with shooting, not melee. I beat them with shooting. And I wasn't running Ludas, and I wasn't running Flash Kits. Standard Orc Boys, a Stompa, Def Dreads, and like I think a score of war bikers. That's it. None of those are really great with shooting. All of them are awesome with melee. And somehow, by some miracle of God, the Tau player was rolling ones constantly. Using Tau-themed dice, mind you, which was hilarious. Huh? Question, how are the Reavers as a unit? Got them with my Ravage strike box, but not sure how to use them in my Raptor army. Reavers. Okay, well, let me make sure I have the right one in my head. Reavers 40k. Primaris Reavers. Okay, so yeah, okay. It is the ones I was thinking of. Reavers. How are the Reavers as a unit? Honestly, I've used Reavers 3 times. That's about it. And this is for my Black Templars. If I recall correctly, last time was like a year ago now. So I can tell you for 9th edition how they played. For 10th, everything's up in the air. 10th is weird right now. But for 9th edition, they played fairly well. If you didn't want to run Assault Marines, like they're a good alternative to Assault Marines, and they would play a little bit different. I mainly ran them when I wanted to run a lot of Marines, as opposed to more effective Marines. Then again, I have to double check their stat sheets. I'm trying to remember how different they were from. I know they were weaker than Assault Marines, but they had a lower point cost value. So if you were looking for numbers for the numbers game as opposed to like straight up damage output or damage potential, I'm pretty sure Reavers are your choice. I don't know. I'm trying to avoid putting my foot in my mouth here. I don't know. Like I didn't have much luck with them. I prefer Assault Marines. Like if I'm gonna go with something that does melee, and it focuses on melee, I tend to focus with just Assault Marines. But obviously you can field less of them because the point values are higher. So it's just down to how you want to play the army. Do you want to play more of a horde style where you're just trying to overwhelm with numbers? Which also gives you maneuverability because you have more units to like move around and do different things with. Or are you looking for just straight like rush them and do as much damage as possible? I don't know. With that second one, I'd say Assault Marines are a better choice. You'll field less of them, but they'll be more effective. If you're looking for a versatile melee unit, which still has decent shooting, keep in mind, they're Reavers. They're Primaris. Like, all Space Marines, even melee focused ones, have good shooting. Compared to Orcs, anyway. So I'd say... Yeah, it just depends on how you want to play them. Overall, I'd say they're good. I mean, they're better than, like, Orc boys and shit, so... But that's not much of a line to have to cross, you know? So, is there a faction I shouldn't play? That's a deeply subjective question. Is there a faction I shouldn't play? Like, serious players don't take them seriously. Or is that? Thank you. Yeah, hopefully that helps. So, is there a faction I shouldn't play? Like, serious players don't take them seriously? Like, you know that gamer that is just a button masher and has no skill? Well, I guess Space Marines would be... Space Marines or Custodes, I would say, is the answer to that question. Probably Space Marines, because they're able to do everything. So they're this to use Bricky, like just to plagiarize Bricky a little bit here. They're the Swiss Army knife of factions. So Space Marines are kind. I wouldn't say they're the ones you shouldn't play, but if you're talking about like the button masher equivalent, like you don't have to think too much. Like most of your thinking with playing Space Marines is in the army builder. Once you've built your army and you're actually on the tabletop doing whatever it is, you just go ham with it. Like if you're doing Psyker focus, you'll crush pretty well, you know, using librarians and such. Hey, I don't know what to do. Welcome to stream. What is that? Thank you. No problem. Trying to think. In terms of armies, recommend not to play. I don't know if I'm gonna answer that question. Not because I don't have answers to it, but I have answers to it for myself. Like, there are armies I will never play because I have no interest in them. How am I doing? I'm doing better. I'm doing better. Like, this stream is really improving my mood. For anyone who watched the beginning of the stream, my apologies for starting off on that note, but we're doing good. We're doing good. But I'm doing good now. Today hasn't been the best. You know, I was looking forward to it most of the week, but things didn't go how I had hoped. Some things happened. I'm still not sure what exactly, but I don't know. Rougher day than I would have wanted. Rougher day than I had hoped. Rougher day than I had predicted. But things happen. But doing good now. Doing good now, and hanging out and chatting with you wonderful people while working on my Jakhals. So, good overall. Good overall, I'd like to say. Who the hell is Digital Punk? Who the hell's that? Oh, okay. That's... So I just, real quick, like, my Discord was lighting up. If you're still watching, then maybe. It depends on how long we go for. I might take a few minutes if you want to run something by me. But where was I in the chat? Oh yeah, I was trying to answer the question of like factions not to recommend. Again, that's deeply personal. It depends on like the themes and like. Here's the thing. I'll say this to anybody watching right now. Don't be that guy. Now, Bricky defines that guy very specifically. Mine's, I think, more broad. When I say that guy, I'm talking about the anal elitist or the metagamer. Both of those fit that guy. Don't be that guy. You know, don't play armies to be the best. I think the worst hobbyists in this space are elitists, and those are typically also metagamers. Typically, not always. Sometimes they're kind of, actually quite a few like painting elitists I've met don't really ever play the tournaments. But I'm not saying you're that guy, Samurai Mind. I'm just saying though, when I'm saying don't be that guy, this is just to everybody. I'm not saying that's what you're going for, but to everybody, don't try and metagame. Like, don't approach 40k with the mindset of, okay, I'm going to play the strongest army that wins the most tournaments, and I'm going to, like, absolutely... Like, I get some people get their enjoyment from winning, like, tournaments and stuff. And don't get me wrong, I've won a tournament, and it felt amazing. But you know what made it feel particularly amazing? Is the fact that I did it with orcs. An army that gets its ass handed to it by most armies. And I did it with fucking orcs. But they were my orcs. They were my favorite faction, my favorite aesthetic. Next to Black Templars. So, you know, I encourage everybody, look at an army, look at their aesthetic, look at their lore, look at their themes. If those speak to you, if you, like, they are attractive to you, if you like them and you like the lore, you like the aesthetic, and you like that aspects of them, then that's the army for you. Well, what if I feel that way about every army? Then guess what? At some point, you're probably going to want to collect every army. So, you know, obviously, I'd recommend anybody, you know, start with an army that speaks to you personally. Like, for my first army was orcs, you know. And I've had orcs and collected orcs since I started the hobby around 11 years ago. Like, I have not stopped. I still have boxes of orcs over there that have not been opened. And I have over 4,000 points of orcs. So, you know, like, that's, for me, that's the biggest advice I should give is, when approaching the hobby, I cannot stress enough, don't try and metagame. Don't try to find the most effective army. Find the army that aesthetically and lore-wise speaks to you the most. So, kind of circling back to the question, though, at hand with the Samurai Mind. Just make sure I reread it correctly. Wait, did I go past it? Where'd it go? Am I blind? Oh, no, there it is. So, is there a faction you shouldn't play? Whatever faction you find least appealing, you shouldn't play. Is the answer. I know it's kind of a cop-out answer, but honestly, it's sometimes it's that simple. It's just go with the army choices and the faction choices that speak to you personally the most. Because honestly, if you play and paint and collect an army that speaks to you from a theme and aesthetic standpoint and a lore standpoint, that will last with you. And you will love and enjoy that army when you lose and when you win. You will enjoy it both times. If you're just playing an army based on how well it does, like for winning, you're gonna hate playing eventually. Because at some point, every army is weak. It's one of the biggest downsides / upsides in some senses with 40k. The balancing is shit. An army that was the meta choice to play last year is not going to be the meta choice this year. Well, I might take that back, but it depends. So, just a little. I really want to reinforce that. Dork, right? No idea what that was just now. Yeah, I'm definitely sorry. The orcs actually sound like a lot of fun. They are. They absolutely are. I will say this, as an orc player, I lose almost every tournament I've ever been in, and I've never left the tournament unhappy. Because I have so much fucking fun while I play. Like, literally, I'll play another player, and they'll destroy one of my Death Dreads. And, you know, like a Space Marines player when a Dreadnought is destroyed. What's their reaction? Damn it, no! What's my reaction when a Death Dread gets destroyed? Oh, please roll a 6. I want this shit to blow up. Please roll a 6. Please roll a 6. Damn it, it didn't blow up. I'm as excited as the other guy to see if it blows up. I'm like, yeah! Destruction! So, I don't know, like, as an orc player, you just have fun. You just have, like, to compare like two communities that are very different. If we were talking about World of Warcraft, orc players are like the Tauren. You're either one of two things. You're either a furry, or you're just there to have a blast, and you're just a fun guy that you don't care if you win, you don't care if you lose, you just fuck around. So yeah, I would recommend orcs to anybody, but they are a horde army, so they're very expensive. And of course, your experience, your mileage may vary. Your mileage with orcs will definitely vary. Alright, so where was I with them? Oh yeah. Let me have a drip of water, because my paint's drying a little bit here. I had the AC on, so I think it's starting to dry my paint. That or I'm talking a lot. Or both. But, it's drying somewhat. Well, hello, Mr. Spider. No, you can fuck off. No. You know. You gonna move? I don't want to stomp on you. I really don't. I'm trying to stop killing spiders. I know you guys are good for, like, bugs and stuff, but please. No, 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 no. Come on, go the opposite direction, please. Okay. You're just kind of staring at me. I will win this dare off, I swear. Just go the other direction. Go the other direction. Or get closer. Okay. Sorry. 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 Spider. It was a brown recluse. At least I think. I don't know. I might just be talking out my ass when I say that. I don't know. Every spider looks like a poisonous evil spider to me. Yeah. Is this blood for the blood? Is this a blood for a blood thing? No, this is I have arachnophobia and a spider decided to come up on my ass. So, it's that kind of thing. I'm not gonna lie, I am a pussy when it comes to spiders. I will admit that fully. I have been in a street fight before. And I'm still scared of spiders and shit. So I have been stabbed in the leg. And I'm still more scared of spiders than knives and shit. Don't know why, don't know what happened in my childhood to cause it, but still. Ugh. Laugh my ass off. Motherfucker jumps out like a night lord, but more scary. Hate spiders. They make my, like, literally, like, my skin feels like it's crawling every time I see one. It's like, ugh. Alright, so, where were we? Conversationally? Frank M, welcome to stream. I've been robbed at gunpoint, and oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man. I'm glad you're okay. I hope they didn't get anything of value. Jesus. Robbed at gunpoint, and I'm still scared of spiders. I will say this. I haven't been robbed at gunpoint. Technically. Not at gunpoint. Does that count as robbery? I mean... I don't know. I'm debating on if I'd... Well, point is, I haven't been robbed at gunpoint. Was the spider the one robbing me? I don't think so. If so, that's a fucked up... If so, he lives in Australia. Like, how do you know in Australia when the wildlife is robbing you at gunpoint? That or Florida. And maybe Louisiana. Alright, so we've got him painted, his skin tone. I gotta get his hand. Mm-hmm. Don't forget the Emu War. That's right. That's right. I always, like I don't forget that ever, but sometimes it just doesn't come to mind initially. But yeah, Australia lost a war to emus. That's fucking epic. Hey kiddo, welcome to stream. Excuse me. I'm from Florida Keys, and played in the Everglades growing up. Well, that's cool. I've been to Florida once, I think. Yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah. Wait, is Disney World in Florida or California? Sorry, I was a kid with the time I'm referring to, so I don't remember I went to Disney World. So I'm trying to remember if that is Florida. Okay, so yeah, I've been to Florida. I was 7. It was 6 soldiers and not an army and like 1 machine gun. Wait, what? Oh, the emu. Well, yeah, like comedically speaking. It's funny to summarize it, even though it technically is inaccurate. But it's funny to summarize it as Australia lost a war to emus. Come on, like that sentence is so fucking funny. It's technically, it's autistically speaking untrue, but broadly and stretching the truth a little bit, or stretching the definitions a little bit, it is true. Technically. You know, it's funny. It's one of those things that's just kind of funny. You got a question? Shoot. I love questions. I love to receive questions from wonderful people. It is. Alright, so I got one hand. Did I get the whole hand? Making sure. Okay. So I got his hand. his other hand. Hey, anyone know who to find the Imperial armor books for Badab? What? For anyone know anyone know who to find the Imperial armor books for Badab that's not over 200 USD. I was about to say eBay, but I think on there it's definitely over or that. Man, if only Arch had gone, you lost to emus every time Radhom went at hominem. That would have been hilarious. But that would have also not gone over. Well, it wasn't going, in my opinion, it wasn't going well anyway in terms of staying on topic in terms of the debate. So he might as well have. It would have actually made it more entertaining. Too bad Arch is too much of a gentleman to do that. I would have done that. You know, if in the moment I thought of it, I'd be like, you lost to Emu, shut up. You know when to talk about anything. I do find it ironic, though, that Radhom is a carny. I'm just saying. Some people told me, like, hey, don't attack career choices. The thing is, it's not really... It is, I guess, a little bit attacking it, but it's funny. Like, the guy's literally a clown. Well, I guess, not literally. He was a juggler. But you're a carny. I don't know. Maybe he should have given up the juggling career for a career in clowning. Because damn does he have a good resume for it. You can find PDF scans. Yeah, you can find PDF scans of like pretty much every booklet out there. Some are just more strictly guarded than others. I think what you mean is that he belongs in a circus. Well, yeah, he does. Absolutely. But the thing is, he's technically in one. Twitter. That shit shows a circus, let me tell you. No offense to any Aussies here, but I find it funny that Warhammer Aussies are most opinionated and morally bankrupt. I mean, other than Radhom, who's a good example? Bits is an Australian, isn't he? I wouldn't know, but... I always thought he was American, but I don't know for that. I don't know that to be true. That was always a guess on my part. Alright, so I did his skin tone. I think I'm just going to do all the skin tones first and then move on to other... That, or I could finish this guy in like all in one go and then use him as an example for the rest. Chat, what should I do? Should I like fully paint this guy all the way through and then just batch paint the rest? Or should I batch paint them all together? I don't know. I'm leaning towards batch painting all together. Just do everybody's skin tone. I'm not going to do them all. I want to do a variety. So I'm going to do him like a darker skin tone. I'm going to say majority of them. I'm probably going to just use my standard skin tone, which I have somewhere. Yeah, because I have like sunny skin tone and then... I have like a pale skin over there. All together? All together. Okay. Alright, we'll do all together. So, his skin tone's done. Grab one at random. We'll do this lovely lass next. She's going to be harder to do because smaller frame and plus her posture is very odd. We'll do her next, and I think I'll do... Yeah, we'll do light flesh. The J-Vlog, welcome to stream, how you doing? Do one full, then batch... I almost misread that. Do one full, then batch, so you have one as reference. That's what I was thinking, but I don't know. Doing them all together and then kind of experimenting as I go also is appealing. Not sure, though. That is why I more parts paint. Oh, you mean like more sub-assembly? I do for HQs, like, and also commissions. Like, when I'm commissioned to do something, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna break this up. But these are basic infantry, and they're my basic infantry, so I normally... The thing is, I don't even go so far as to separate base and model. Sometimes I just do the model and then I do the base, but I thought it'd be easier to do the bases like this, just separated. The only downside is now I have to figure out who goes to which base. What army or is this kill team? This is an army. This is part of World Eaters. These are Jakhals, which are... The best way I know how to summarize them is Jakhals are... They're the basic of basic infantry for World Eaters. They're Chaos Cultists for Khorne. They're Khorne Chaos Cultists. Kind of. I don't know. For me, it's weird to describe them because they are, in very simplistic terms, just Khorne Chaos Cultists. But there's a little bit more to them than that. Because, you know, you'll notice each of them have, like, this pack on their back, and there's, like, tubes connected to them. It's because they're getting pumped up with, basically, Roid Rage. And Demon Blood. So, yeah, World Eaters. I got to do 20 of these guys. I only have 10 assembled and primed. I got to do 30 Khorne Berserkers, a Hellbrute, Angron, Karn the Betrayer, and quite a few other things. I know, I have a lot to do in 7 days. I have 7 days to the tournament that's upcoming. So, yeah. Am I going to successfully get to the tournament with World Eaters? I'm not going to jinx myself, but I have my doubts. But I'm going to try my best. I have 7 days. That's 7 whole days to try and get as much assembled and painted as possible. So, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed I can do it. I should be able to. Like, these guys in particular aren't too complicated. They're like 4 colors. Like 7 if you do highlights and stuff. I think I'm gonna skip doing highlights for them for now. I'm gonna do all base coats, do washes, and then I'm not gonna... I might varnish them and then do highlights over the varnish. Or I'll leave them unvarnished and then do highlights when I get the opportunity after the tournament. And then varnish them. But I'm going to try and keep the aesthetic a little bit more simplistic until then. Thankfully, again, baseline, there are not too many coats of paint. Well, shouldn't be anyway. I think I might leave the pants like this Chaos Black, but that might be too bland. Not sure. But cross that bridge when you come to it. So light skin for her, which I just had in my hand. There it is. Like Zangors or Poxwalkers, pretty much. Yeah, I think they're the Poxwalker equivalent for World Eaters. Yeah, that's exactly it, pretty much. So these guys are good for padding an army with points if you don't have room for something better. The tournament this coming Sunday on the 28th is a 2,000 point tournament. So I put together my army list already. And my army list is pretty much all of what I have. It's pretty much everything I have. It's all 30 of my Khorne Berserkers, 20 of the Jakhals, the Chaos Rhino, Angron, Karn the Betrayer, and my Hellbrute, which is in a box up there. So yeah, lots to do. Angron is probably going to be the last thing I do. And I might go to the tournament with bare minimum with him initially and then finish painting him later. But I don't know. I kind of want to finish painting him for the tournament. We'll see. I don't like painting with... I don't like playing with unpainted minis. That drives me nuts. So that's one thing I do want to avoid. Yeah, this is going to look a little white initially. It's because it's just a very pale skin tone. Whoops. A little extra there with it. Okay, so she's pretty much got her entire chest covered, so that makes that easy. It's her neck I have to get, though. Asmogan, I have kind of Warhammer question thing, alright? Oh, Lady Runesong, well, I should get to bed. Hope things go smoothly with your penny. Thank you, Lady Runesong. I hope you have a great night. Have a fantastic night, lass. Rest well. And thank you for coming on. I always appreciate to have you stop by. But yes, on to the question. I have a kind of Warhammer question thing. So my cousin is turning Elven. Wait, what? So my cousin is turning 11. I misread that. I'm dyslexic. And he loves Warhammer. He keeps talking about these things called Tyranids? Oh, Tyranids. What's that and what should I get? Tyranids. Oh, Tyranids. That's... So, I guess the question is, what does he have? Does he have any minis for Tyranids so far? If he doesn't, I'd say get him the Combat Patrol. If you can afford it. It is kind of expensive. But for Tyranids, yeah, I'd say get the Combat Patrol. At least the current one. I know they're switching them out soon. I don't know. Like, in terms of specific units to get, I guess I could recommend, like, a whole swath of them, but... It'd be a laundry list. I think he has the Intercessor Squad for the Ultramarines. So he doesn't have any Tyranids, though. Like, no Tyranids. Starter says another good starting point. True. And if he is collecting Space Marines, maybe get one of the starter sets for 10th edition. Because those have both Space Marines and Tyranids in them. So you get a kind of a 2-for-1 deal. And they're cheaper than buying them individually. Keep in mind, when we talk about Warhammer, when I say cheap, I don't mean actually cheap. I mean, like, by Warhammer standards, cheap. So, you know, less than $1,000. I think the starter sets right now are for like $250, $250, something like that. I don't know how much of a fan I am of this flush tone. Normally it's my go-to, but every time I apply it, it looks so white. So I'm like, as soon as I apply the wash is going to be the color. Get him a 3D printer. I mean, 3D printer would be the cheapest option, but in and of itself is a bit of a... It's a bit of a chore to learn how to use a 3D printer. Well, I say chore. Keep in mind, I don't... Chore might be the wrong word. Because it's very rewarding once you learn how to use a 3D printer, but it's a matter of learning how to use a 3D printer. And I'm trying to think, like, if we're talking about an 11-year-old, and we're also talking about dangerous chemicals. Starting price is 222 up to 264 for the combat patrols. The combat patrols aren't that bad here yet. The combat patrols, I think, are 170. Might be a little bit cheaper on eBay and other second-hand sites like that. His parents would not like the aliens, though. Or Tyranids. Heavily religious. Oh, well, that kind of kills off being able to advise you there, then. If his parents are highly religious and they don't want anything from 40k or... And 40k literally has demons in it, so demons you can play. So you might have a difficult time getting him anything for Warhammer if his parents are super religious. He's religious too, though. Well, the thing is, like, I'm religious a little bit, like, and I don't see the problem. It's fiction, you know, it's not real. I'm collecting World Eaters, and they work alongside the most generic demon-looking. Like, I don't freak out about it. I'd say, you know, it's hard to give advice in this regard because some people take their faith like super uber seriously, and I take mine seriously, but I also can understand like when I engage with something fictitious, it doesn't say anything to like my faith or to anything like that. So I don't know. I'm able to easily make the separation. So I don't know. For me, it's hard to give advice in this regard because I don't have this difficulty. They don't like Warhammer, but they like the D&D monsters. Well, that's kind of. Methinks they don't know much about Warhammer then, or they don't know much about D&D if they're okay with D&D. Because D&D has its own fair share of fucked up creatures and shit, so. Maybe I have to hit so much of the rest of her body for this. I'll just have to paint over those spots. Yeah, I know that looks white on camera. It is a little bit of an off-white color. But once you apply a flesh tone wash to this, like Rykland flesh shade, it looks really, really good. It's just a pale flesh tone. My question is, what's a purity seal? Ooh. Wow, yeah. You really are new. Well, a purity seal is, it's kind of in the name. It's a seal of purity in terms of the Imperial cult. Well, not universally. Let me double check my facts here. But the gist of it is it's kind of like... Again, it probably just smart of me to look it up rather than try and remember the exact description off the top of my head. Okay, so purity seals. So verbatim from the Lexiconum, which is like the first wiki that existed for the Warhammer community. Purity seals are borne by various Imperial troops, applied to weapons, armor, and vehicles. They take the form of wax seals and parchment inscribed with declarations and prayers. They are prominently displayed on armor and symbolize that the wearer is uncontaminated by the slightest taint of chaos. So yeah, I had it. So my initial thought was correct. So yeah, it's a religious seal of purity. It literally just, the more of them you have, it's like further clarification each time that you are uncontaminated by chaos and that you are pure in the spiritual sense in the 40k mythos. So that is what a purity seal is. It's in the name. It's a seal and declaration. It's a little contract on you that says, well, not a contract. It's a little sign on you that says, hey, I'm not contaminated. I'm pure. The reason for having a ton of them, though, is, at least as far as I remember from the lore, each one should be from a different, like, institution or faction. Like, you might have a purity seal from the Inquisition, so it'll have the Inquisition seal on it. And then you might have one from the Black Templars, so it'll have the Black Templar cross. You might have one from the Space Wolves, so it'll have the Space Wolf symbol on it. You know, etc., etc., etc. Like, different bodies of the Imperial... of the Imperium will award it differently. If that makes sense. So that's the gist of the purity seal. It's also kind of, by Space Marines anyway, it's kind of treated as also a, it's kind of like wearing a badge of honor. It's like a little military, like, recognition badge thing for them as well. So it's not just religious. It's also a military recognition on top of it, I'd say. Okay, next question. Does each Space Marine and Chaos Marine chapter play differently, or do they all play relatively the same? Oh, no, they play very differently. Very differently. If you mean, like, if you collect, like, Primaris Marines, but you paint them different factions, at the end of the day, do all they play the same and they just look different? No. For example. So, to kind of make my point the best I can. So, for 40k, you have the Codex, the core Codex for Space Marines. Now, this will apply to all Space Marine chapters. You will want this for all Space Marines. But there is also this thing called Codex Supplements. So Codex Supplements are a lot thinner than the actual Codex. The reason for that is, and the reason supplements for, like, the Space Wolves and the Black Templars and Imperial Fists, the reason these exist separate from one another is because there is a recognized significant difference culturally between the chapters. So, GW has produced multiple supplements with the stat and play differences depending on your faction choice. Now, of course, keep this in mind. At the end of the day, most of them will still have a lot orally taken from the Codex Space Marines, because this is like the generic Bible of the lot. But these supplements contain the faction-specific stratagems, which are kind of like playable rules with using command points and stuff like that. And they also contain specific units, because certain factions do have unique models to them amongst Space Marines. There are models that are only playable as Space Wolves. There are models that are only playable, like, for example, Helbricht for the Black Templars. He's only a Black Templar. So you can field him with a Imperial Fist army, let's say, but his rule sets, you're going to want, for his specific, like, rule sets and stuff, he's going to be considered part of a different detachment, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I don't think you can field him with Imperial Fists, or let's just go even further away from that, Iron Hands. I don't think you can play him with Iron Hands and still be considered part of the same detachment. I might be wrong. Like, I might be wrong about that. But at the end of the day, though, some of his unique rules and unique stuff will be in the supplement. So, but this is where it's kind of a yes and no kind of answer to the question. Only so many chapters / legions have Codex supplements and, like, unique models. I wonder if you're shadow banned right now. You shouldn't be. I still, like, if you were shadow banned, I wouldn't see any of your comments. I'm seeing you right now. I don't know why YouTube, like, blocks you out so often. Like, that's so weird to me. I don't know. Maybe, like, soon I'll just kind of clear out my cache on YouTube to see if maybe, like, YouTube's weirdly censoring words based on my banned words list. Like, I have a couple that, you know, I have set up on YouTube that are banned, so it'll automatically remove comments related to those, but they're very specific words, and they're very commonly inappropriate words to have on stream and stuff, so. And I don't think Pyrrha said any of them. And I don't know, maybe I'll try clearing that out and see if that'll work. It won't work on browser. I don't know, maybe it's your browser then. I don't know, like, I'd be taking guesses. But yeah, back to what I was saying. So yeah, back to what I was saying. Hey, Asmogan, question. How did you start in the hobby / wargaming? Oh, I've shared this story a few times recently. I guess I'll share it again. But give me a second. So I'll just finish off by saying, so yeah. With specific flavors of Space Marines, there are unique models and unique playstyles that do vary quite significantly. Like Black Templars are very melee focused, Imperial Fists are very shoot focused, Space Wolves are very melee focused, so are Blood Angels. There's a lot of like different focuses and specialties for different Space Marine armies, and that also comes in with their unique models. But not every chapter can be supplemented. Well, they all could be, but it would be super expensive and be very time invested for GW to do that. And by the time they get through like half of them, we'd still be waiting on orcs and other things to get codexes. So only certain Space Marine factions get supplements. For the generic, like if you're playing a chapter that doesn't have a supplement, then you'd just be playing generic Space Marines. And in that circumstance, at that point you'd be playing the same as another Space Marine player who's also playing a generic Space Marine. The only variety comes in the specific chapters with supplements and the unique models to them. So the answer to the question is yes and no. It depends on what variation of Space Marine you're looking to play. But that was the original question. As for the new one, how did I get a start in the hobby? One moment. Yep. Here we are. How did I get my start in the hobby? I got my start in the hobby 11 years ago when I was 13. When I was 13, a friend of mine and I were hanging out at school. And at the school I had, there was a balcony overlooking the cafeteria. And we were on the balcony and we were waiting to have lunch. We were just going to run up when the line finished up and grab our food. We didn't really want to stand in line. So we were just sitting there looking over the cafeteria. And we were just chatting and shooting the shit. And my buddy, his name's Dan. I haven't seen him in years, but Dan was, and I were just chatting. We were talking about, nerd stuff. And we got on the topic of sci-fi universes. And I lamented to him a little bit about how, I was like, dude, I've seen, like, everything. Like, I've seen every major sci-fi setting. He's like, oh, really? Have you seen Firefly? I went, yep, I've seen Firefly. I went, oh, okay, have you seen Star Trek? I'm like, dude, I've seen, like, every Star Trek. Even the original 1960s original series. He went, oh, damn, even I haven't seen that. I'm like, yeah, my dad's a Trekkie. I have. And I told him I've seen Battlestar Galactica. I've seen the Stargate shows, including SG-1 and Atlantis. I've seen all of that. And I was like, I know of every sci-fi universe. I've watched all of them, and I kind of missed. I wish there was another one. And then he kind of like had a smirk on his face, if I recall correctly, and he's like, "All right, I think I got one that you've never heard of." And I went, "All right, bet. What is it?" He's like, "Do you know what Warhammer 40K is?" I said, "No, I don't. What's Warhammer 40K?" To me, it sounded made up. I thought he was fucking with me at first. And he's like, dude, come over to my house this weekend, and I'll give you a full rundown, and you'll thank me. So I was like, oh, okay. So in my mind, I was like, okay, worst case scenario, I go to his house, and he like pulls a prank or something, and it is made up bullshit. And then we hang out and have a fun weekend. Best case scenario, I get introduced to a new sci-fi universe, and we get to hang out and have fun that weekend. So there was no downside for me. So that, I went home, asked my parents if I could go to my friend's house for the weekend. They said yes. Get the fuck out of get the fuck out of the house. Have fun. Leave us give us some spare time away from your teenage hormonal idiotic ass. No, my family didn't say that, but that would be funny. No, so I went to his house that weekend, and immediately, like, I enter the house. It's a very, like, clean, nice, neat house, middle class family. Say hi to his mom, say hi to his dad, and he looks at his dad and goes, I'm gonna show him it. And his dad just kind of smirked and went, okay, we'll call you up for dinner. So we go down to their basement. So I'm like, okay, yeah, we get down to the basement, and I'm like, okay, what's in the basement? Because I thought we were gonna go to his room, but we go down to the basement, and their basement is like this open concept basement, right? Like it's all the basement is pretty much primarily like two pillars holding stuff up, and then just the rest is concrete and like some stuffing on on the side of the walls, mostly concrete though. And down there, like against several walls, was a bunch of bookshelves, like tons, and they're like wooden bookshelves like these, like very similar. And they were either half of them were filled with books and codexes, the other half were filled with miniatures. And I mean miniatures. There was a shit ton of orcs and a ton of space marines. This is back before, well before Primaris. So they were all firstborn marines. And I was in awe. Like, I was like, what is all this? Now, I looked at the miniatures and stuff, and I know some were painted, some weren't. I went, okay, that's weird. Because in my head at the time, I was like, okay, they bought defective toys and stuff that aren't properly painted. I was kind of tempted to say, hey, shouldn't you get a return on those? Those look like they haven't been finished. But I didn't say anything because I was like in awe. I was like, what is all this? And his dad even had like a large, like, similar to that actually, but it was bigger. Like, it was like a huge flag down there on the wall that was like of the Imperium symbol. And I was completely confused. I could tell it was all related to each other, but I wasn't sure what. So he pulls me over to like a big white fold out table where they had a bunch of painted supplies and stuff. And it had like the old like paints. Obviously like still similar, tubs like this stuff. Like this stuff. But it was in like older containers, like it had a white plastic top and stuff. They were paint pots, but a little bit different, a little bit older. And I was just looking through, and he sits me down, and he has like these two bench seats. He sits me down, he pulls a codex off the wall randomly, and he pulled down the Orc Codex. I believe it was for 6th edition, 6th or 5th edition. And he just opens it up, and he's like, look through it, read a little bit of it. And as I'm reading, he begins verbally unloading fucking everything imaginable at me. Like every little tiny itty bit of lore he could think of randomly, he threw out there, and he went, and doesn't that sound cool? And most of it, I'm not gonna lie, I missed like most of it. Because I'm trying to like zip through the book a little bit, look through the art, and I'm also trying to listen to him. And he's just unloading all of this information onto me. And he's like, dude, this is how, hey, dude, this is what orcs are. This is Gork and Mork. They have the power of belief. And I'm like, hey, what, who, huh? My name Jeff. Like, I was so, like, flabbergasted. But the beauty of it is even though I completely was lost with what he was trying to tell me, I was so enthralled by it because of how passionate he was. Like, he got out of his seat a few times, and he, like, acted out little things as he was describing it. And he's like, and Sanguinius got cut down by Horus. And then, like, the Emperor walks in, sees what he's done, and tries to reason with Horus, his son. But Horus is long gone, man. So, like, so they fight, and the Emperor is getting beat up, but he's not really fighting back because he loves Horus so much. But then Horus, like, haha, I beat you. And then a human steps in, and he's, like, saying all this with all this energy. And again, like, imagine a 13-year-old just losing his shit. And I'm sitting there like, uh-huh. Uh-huh. Who's Horus again? Oh, good God. So, yeah, he tried to give you a drink from a fire hose, pretty much. So, after we sat there, and I finally got him to slow down and explain things a little bit slower, he sat there and he gave me the really, really gruff rundown for like 6 hours. And I'm not gonna lie, after he slowed down and I started really being able to actually absorb it, like I got enthralled. Like every little bit of information, and then he started answering questions, and I was like, okay, what's this? It's like, is it just orcs and humans? And he went, no, it's not just orcs and humans. There's also elves. I'm like, oh, there's elves? Oh, that's kind of lame. He went, oh yeah, they are, but he's like, but there's like two or three brands of them. I'm like, what do you mean brands? He's like, oh well, there's like dark elves. I'm like, yeah, that's generic fantasy though. At that point, he went, no, but they're like really rapey, and that took me aback. I was like, excuse me. So again, I just like thinking back, like I just sat there and absorbed so much information from Dan, and it was one of the best moments of my life. Like, not only was it a great bonding experience between the two of us, but like for me, it was like such a click. Like so much of it, like it was dark and edgy, and I was a bit of a dark and edgy teenager. But that aside, it was such a fascinatingly expansive universe, and it was well beyond anything I had ever thought it could have been. Like when I heard the name Warhammer 40K, it sounded like a made-up sci-fi universe to me. Like I was used to universes that had very catchy, succinct names without numbers in them. You know, like I was like Star Trek, Starcraft, Stargate. And then, well, technically you'd say that. Well, so what about Stargate SG-1? It's like, okay, yeah, fine, fair. That has numbers in it. But you know, but like for me, I was like, I was just enthralled. And I'm not gonna lie, like when we were talking about orcs for part of the night, that's probably where I got hooked the most initially. Because the humans I thought were interesting and all, and the Imperium sounded fascinating. The little tidbits I learned about like the Horse Heresy were cool. But for some reason, the orcs really while we were talking, I remember looking over at the bookshelf with all the miniatures on it, and I saw all these like awkwardly, quirkily, like they didn't do what I do, which is paint in like very army themed. They painted each model differently. Like each orc boy looked vastly different. Some had checker marks, some had stripes, some had little like tattoo markings on them. Some were painted well, some weren't. And I remember like, asking him about the orcs, and I learned about like their psyker ability of belief. Like so much information was like fed to me, and I like just the passion began to grow. Like as I'm talking to him and as I'm listening to him. And pretty soon, like he finally, like I think his voice began to give out, but we got called up to dinner by his mom, and we went up and we ate, and he went to to clean up at the bathroom after dinner, and I went back downstairs to just look at the miniatures and to look over the stuff, and I noticed they had like a side closet down there underneath the staircase, and I just it was kind of half open anyway, if I recall correctly, so I just kind of like opened it up just to do something, and I didn't want to grab any of the miniatures or any more of the books without permission because I didn't want to drop anything or mess anything up. So I just looked in the closet because I was just waiting, and in the closet was where they had all the unassembled miniatures and all the box sets they hadn't got to, and the closet was full. Like my pile of shame, which is down there, it pales in comparison to what I recall. Like they had the coolest thing, like, and I remember this the other day when I was asked to retell this previously. But if I recall correctly, they had first edition. They had not first edition 40K, but first edition. Uh, Deathwing, first edition Deathwing box set, if I recall correctly. Because I recently looked up the artwork for it, and it looked very familiar. So I think that's where it's from, or where my memory of it is from. I think I saw a Deathwing first edition box set. Let me look up the aesthetic right now, just to make sure I'm. Yeah, Deathwing Assault first edition. So yeah, that's the box that I'm looking at right now. So I saw that, I'm pretty sure, in their closet, and I don't remember opening up and looking at the models, but they probably were really like old school. It was really cool, but it was like the whole closet was just full of like some 5th edition, 6th edition stuff, some older edition stuff that they had never touched for whatever reason. It was just a mixture of stuff in there. It's all Jakarian Slut. I just figured. Quit trying to ruin my memory. No, like, not that kind of family. We're not talking about Jehovah's Witnesses here. Excuse me. I 2 Old Citadel paints, flesh wash, and scorpion green. Nice. You tried to give you a drink for a fire. That's a. I do like that though. I know you're kidding, but still. But yeah, I was just sitting there, and this is where I'll end off the story because I know I've been going a while and haven't really touched the miniatures. But you know, I was just looking in the closet and I didn't really pay attention because I was just like looking over everything. I was like, wow, there's a lot to this. And his dad, Dan's dad, I don't remember his name. I only ever called him Mr. Well, I won't say their last name because you know don't want to get anybody doxxed. But Mr. Dan, I'll call him that. I only called him that, so I don't remember his first name. But he came down the stairs and he's just, he's drinking, he was drinking tea. And he just looks in, he's like, so what you doing? And I jumped because I was like, I thought I was in trouble for a moment. I was like, I was just looking over the stuff. I didn't touch anything. And he went, no, you're fine, you're cool. And he looks at me, he looks at the stuff, and he went, so he gave you the rundown, huh? I went, yeah. And he's like, I've been collecting with since I was a kid with my dad. And he didn't give me a rant like Dan did. He just gave me a quick like, I've been collecting since with my dad, and I'm happy to be doing it with Dan. He seems to really like it. And I'm glad you seem to be getting into it. And he looked at me and he looked at the box sets around there, and he just looked around and he looked back at me and he went, do you want one? And I was like, one what? He went, do you want a box set? So the greedy teenager in me was like, fuck yeah. But the boy that my mom raised, which was to be super like, no, I can't really take advantage of your kindnesses. I'm willing to do chores around your house if it means earning my keep. That's how I was raised. I'm a farm boy. I was raised, you don't take handouts, you that kind of thing. So I was like, I didn't know what to say. So he kind of like, he kind of took initiative. He's like, let me give you one. So he like reached over me and he grabbed a box of Orc Boys. And I believe there was, now obviously the sculpt didn't change for a long ass time. So it's the same ones that are like up there and that most people have. Because obviously the sculpt hasn't changed since the 90s until very recently, like the last couple of years. So it's a box. Nobody get like too excited. They weren't like old school. They weren't like second, third edition. Were like the 90s sculpts, plastic sculpts. So he holds it up and he's like, we got plenty of Orc Boys here. And he gave me a box of Orc Boys. It was my first ever miniatures. Half of them I no longer have. Not because I sold them. I would never have sold that box. But I lost them. Because since then, my family's moved like 2 or 3 times. And in the process of that, I lost them at some point. They could be somewhere around this house in a box that I totally forgot. But as far as I've found, I haven't been able to re-find them. So unfortunately, half of them are gone. Some of like that original box is somewhere amongst that. I repainted like 2 of them, which was I regret. But I think 2 or 3 of them might actually be on that shelf, and they blend in too well. So, but yeah, that's after that. We hang out for the rest of the weekend, and pretty much the whole weekend we talked about Warhammer. I basically from then on, because he lost his voice almost, he basically just said, "Just ask questions, and I'll answer them as they come." Oh, probably a better idea than you ranting for 6 hours. So throughout the weekend I asked questions. Couldn't remember all of them or to rant to you guys at, and to kind of wrap up, I had a good weekend, went home, and I didn't assemble or touch those minis for like, I want to say 6 months until it was like summertime. And then when it was summertime, I went ham with them. They looked ugly as fuck. I'm telling you that right now. I remember how I painted them. I didn't know how to prime. I didn't know prime was the thing. When I used the paints I used like the little, like the, you put a little water in them and it comes in a little, not acrylic model paint. I was using like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I didn't ask for advice from Dan either. I just started doing shit, and they looked horrible. But at some point, I painted like 2 or 3 of them, and the rest I left originally painted, but I no longer know where they are. So, yeah, that's how I got into Warhammer. Word to mouth from a friend that a friend who was also a nerd who had a hold my beer moment when I told him I touched every or checked out every sci-fi universe that I could think of, and he's like, bet. Yep, it was a good time. I've given the full rundown of how I got in on previous streams. Yes, you have. The short is I got stomped by 40k factions on Amino. Asked, was linked to Astartes, and then found Arch on my own. That was 4 years ago. Yeah, and that's another completely cool, interesting, and valid way to get into the hobby. Like, here's the thing. My story is kind of bombastic. Well, not really bombastic. What? I don't know. I don't know. I'll use bombastic. It was bombastic for me. Like, it was very fun. But, if you're someone, like, don't feel like, your story is, like, invalid, so to speak. If your story is more quote-unquote simple. Whatever got you into the hobbies is what got you in. And as far as I'm concerned, they're all amazing stories. Even if it's something as simple as, oh, I played Dawn of War, and then I fell in love with the setting. Like, for me, that's just as awesome as a story as anything else. It's like, whatever struck that lightning bolt in the back of your head to give you that passion, to make you to want to jump in, collect miniatures, read the books, talk lore, listen to audiobooks, look up YouTubers and their lore videos. Whatever got you in is what matters, and that is what is awesome. So, yeah. Ooh. All right, so what flesh tone do I want to do for her? Oh, let me try on this sunny skin tone. It's kind of weird color. Hey man, hope you can get in touch back with your friend. That sounds like what I want to build with my son. Hopefully he likes the game and the hobby. I mean, I hope your son does too. As for me and Dan, I don't know. We really haven't seen much of each other since high school. I do know that when I first started making like YouTube videos in regards to 40k, shortly after that, he came to my house with a bunch of miniatures, and he sold them to me for like really fucking cheap, like a bunch of Primaris stuff. He came to my house and he just kind of dropped it off. He said, "Hey, I'll just take $100 and you can have all this." And what I got was more than a fucking $100 worth of miniatures, even for the time. Not even like, let alone now. Now that stuff would be like half a grand. And without like giving too much personal information, like the gist is he was about to be a father at that point. We were both like 19, 20. He was about to be a father with his high school sweetheart. They're married now, and I know I checked in on them on Facebook on occasion. They're married now. They're doing good, but I haven't heard from him since then. I don't think it's because he's avoiding me or anything. I think he's just caught up with life. But from the gist I got from talking to him after he dropped up the miniatures, it seemed like he was, at the time, I don't know if it's true now, and I kind of hope it's not. I kind of hope it was just like he was just doing what he thought was the right move at the time, and now I hope now or soon he realizes that he can have both. But I think at the time he was thinking, okay, I'm about to be a father. I can't be wasting money and time, with this silly hobby. I need to put everything I have into looking after my family and making sure that unit can survive, making sure we have money coming in, and I think that was his mentality. I don't know, I can't read his mind, but that's what I got from our conversation. So that's why he gave the miniatures to me for like pennies on the dollar, and I haven't heard from him since. I don't know. I might reach out. I mean, I have him on Facebook, might as well, but I don't know. Time is a weird thing. Welcome, Caleb. I almost said Herbert. I'm sorry. Hebert or I knew about 40k for a while. I was always told I'd love it and that I'd totally be a Black Templar. I watched lore videos and read some lore and novels for a year or so, barely getting into it now. Well, I'm glad you're getting into it now, and I don't know if I don't know you well enough to say which faction you'd be most into, but I like the Black Templars. They're certainly one of my favorites, and I did a lore video on them recently. If you haven't checked it out, I think it's a pretty good video. But yeah, good to hear you getting into it. And I still think it's a really good, damn good hobby. All the recent lore has been kind of less grimdark and kind of going down an interesting path. But man, my eyes getting a little dry. Ah! I need a humidifier down here. Yeah, so this is a bit more of a kind of a yellowish skin tone color. We're definitely getting diversity points here with these Jakhals. After all, corn does not care from whence the blood flows. Just making sure I get all of her arm. Cool. I did. I liked it. Yeah! Put a Rogaldorn mini together while watching it. I love to hear it. Thank you. For me, had heard it in passing, then saw Arch in connection to Sargon, and then got recommended an Arch vid on Servitors, and a few more. Pretty light casual at that point. I mean, yeah, that's pretty healthy, like, slow incline into it. Got more into it after wandering into your server. Yes. That means I can take credit for your indoctrination into Warhammer. Got more into it after... Okay, I read that. Still don't really recall when or how I ended up on the Discord, but... Actually, how did that go? Trying to remember if I commissioned you for artwork before or after it. I think it was after, wasn't it? If I recall correctly, Pierce, you came in with the wave of people when I first covered Arch being attacked by the Warhammer crowd for cherry-picked, not tweets, but cherry-picked Discord messages. It was after? Okay, well... Oh. So yeah, so I'm thinking you came in with that round of people. Yeah, and then when I was looking for an artist, you volunteered, and then from there, you did the artwork for Warglaive. Damn, like that was like, what, 3 years ago now? 4? Fucking time. Before, I'm gonna blink and I'm gonna be like 80 years old. With like grandkids and shit, and I'll be like, what happened? Is the new lore causing a split in the community? It has for a few years now. At this point, when people say new lore, it's pretty much everything after, I want to say 8th edition and on. Some would say 7th edition on, I'll say 8th and on. Not purely because it's woke. Actually, very little of it is woke. The problem is, it's not grimdark like it used to. There is a bit of a split in the 40k community in regards to that. Because newer fans, I don't think will understand this as well as older fans. Keep in mind, some would say I'm a newer fan, even though I've been in for 11 years. And some would say I'm an older fan because I've been in for 11 years. I don't know which I'd say. Compared to the guys who've been in since the 80s, they've been playing this game and collecting for 40 years. I can't compare to that. I'm not old compared to that. But compared to all the new people coming in, I'm part of the old guard. So and plus mentally, I'm definitely part of the old guard. And the newer lore, I will say this, is less grimdark. That's the biggest problem with the new lore. So far, we've been able to avoid woke, but it's not grimdark. And that seems to be the separation. Because the old Warhammer 40k lore, like, not even the 80s, like, I want to say everything 7th and 6th, certainly 6th edition, but mostly 7th edition and before was very grimdark. All the books that came out during that time period, all the codexes, even the logo, like everything about the game screamed grimdark. Like this is universe. Like the miniatures, obviously, like especially if we go back to the 80s, have kind of shifted over the years. Sometimes they've looked very vibrant and very, like again, very 80s, and some have been very grimdark and more monotone painted style. So when I say grimdark, it is mostly narratively we're talking about. I'm a graybeard in the hobby. Matthew Gwynn's like, I've been here a long time. You do not compare to me. And art comms for you came around roughly about that point. Yes. I think there could stand to be more objective heroism with the Imperium, only to upset the Wokies. Well, the thing is, I kind of disagree with that notion, mainly because 40k does have, even in the Grimdark era, or the more Grimdark era, there have been heroes. Like, the thing is, Grimdark doesn't exclude heroism. It doesn't exclude, like, good things happening. Grimdark just means, at the end of the day, despite whatever victories are accomplished, grandiosely speaking, everything is fucked. Like, a good example of a grimdark story, in terms of, like, succinction, I think is John Carpenter's 1982 The Thing. That movie is a grimdark story. Not because of the body horror, not because of, like, that aspect. That adds to it, of course. But what makes that story grimdark, and what makes any story grimdark, is despite, no matter what hero, like, in that movie, for example, no one here would make the argument that Mac. Oh, sorry, not Mac. Great, I gotta remember. It's been a long day. I need to look up the cast. Cast. Not the thing from the other world. 1982. Okay. MacCready. No one here would argue that MacCready is not a hero or a protagonist, correct? We would all agree that MacCready is a hero. Yet, he's in a grimdark story. What makes it grimdark is not that there is an absence of heroism or an absence of good-intentioned people. That's not what makes something grimdark. That's what makes something cringy postmodernist bullshit. No, what makes something grimdark is no matter what heroic acts and great heroic individuals there are, the situation is untenable. It is bleak. There is no greater savior or solution. Like in John Carpenter's 1982 The Thing, the best case scenario is that every character we've met dies along with the creature that's trying to spread itself to the rest of humanity. The best that they can hope for is to kill it. And to kill it, they have to cut off any chance of its survival. And any chance of it spreading. So they have to not only ensure that the base is destroyed, but that the creature goes with it. But once the base is destroyed, they have no shelter from the elements. They're going to die. They're fucked. That's the end of their story. They know it towards the end, yet they do whatever they can despite it. And at the very end of the film, it ends on a grimdark, bleak note of Keith David's character, Childs. Is Childs the thing? And the film ends with no clear solution. With no, yay, we won, and MacCready lives and walks off in the sunset. We end as the screen fades to black, as MacCready is sitting across from what could just be Childs, after all that went down and they're exchanging a drink. Or he could be exchanging words with the Thing. And in either circumstance, he's fucked. And so is Childs or the Thing. It's a grimdark story. No great grand heroic welcome for McCready at the end. No helicopter coming in to save him or Childs. No cliffhanger of a secondary movie. A fade out to an uncertain future where the best case scenario is everyone we cared about throughout the story dead. That's grimdark. That's what 40K used to be. It used to be that essence. That despite all of the heroes, despite all of the legendary tales, despite all of the epic battles and moments to save humanity or to damn it, despite everything, despite whatever victories humanity is able to assure for itself, there's always the overarching tone that it's all, in the grand scheme, it's all just delaying the inevitable. That the end is assured. We are dying. Technology isn't advancing. The human race is doing abhorrent things to itself to survive. Hive worlds, servitors, and so much worse. Technology not being developed out of fear of developing too far and reigniting old past mistakes like with the Men of Iron. The Primarchs, the great heroes of legends from the Horus Heresy, dead, gone, or worse. The Emperor, the greatest hope for humanity, is a skeleton barely kept alive as he powers a light in the warp. And the moment he dies, everyone dies. That was 40K. That was Warhammer 40,000. A future where every battle, despite its outcome, in the grand scheme, didn't change anything. Now, that doesn't mean we shouldn't be invested in those battles. We should be, because at the end of the day, despite its hopelessness, just like McCready and the final survivors of the Thing, you don't give up. Even towards the very end, you fight. You fight tooth and fucking nail against the darkness. But we're screwed anyway. So that means lie down and die? No. Yes, things are bleak. Yes, things are grim. Yes, things are dark. But you keep fighting, because at the very fucking least, you're going to give whatever the hell is hunting you, whatever the hell is going to try and tear you up and rip you apart, you're going to give it the worst fucking time of its life before it does so. Even if it's inevitable, even if you have no chance of winning, you keep on fighting. And that was Warhammer 40,000. From the 1980s to about 2012, 2014, I want to say. I'll go a little bit further. 2017. All the way up through that. That was 40K. Things were bleak, things were untenable, and we were fucked. But we kept fighting against the darkness. Because if we're going to go out of this great galaxy we call home, then we're going to be remembered by it for all time. We're gonna light the biggest fire the galaxy has ever seen, and we are not gonna go quietly. We're gonna fight. We're gonna cleave. We're gonna break. We're gonna shatter that which comes to destroy us. We will not lie down and die. That was 40K. Now 40K is just not that. It hasn't been for a few years. That is one of the downsides with bringing the Primarchs back. And also with like Godblight and the hints at the Emperor having more significant power than he should have, being a corpse that's barely being animated. There's a lot of things and with Primaris also really killed the grimdark part of the lore significantly. Yeah, Pyrrhus put it pretty good. All for the belief that even if you're gone, your deeds will echo into eternity. Pretty much, and that's what the Imperium was really representing at that in the days prior to Guilliman's return and the Primaris and Call. All that stuff really ruined the grimdark aspects of 40K. Some would disagree. I stand firmly behind that. with the introduction of Call, Primaris, and Gilliman coming back, all of that flipped the tone completely. Because with Gilliman back, as much of a douchebag as I think he is, he can technically fix the Imperium. Now, minus the Primaris and Call's bullshit, I would have argued that he would have had a much harder time. But honestly, with the MacGuffin that they are and all that happened, that he pretty much waltzed in and did whatever the fuck he want, and he's resetting everything. And yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the removal of the grimdark theme, and if with every Primarch that comes back, they're kind of further ruining the grimdark theme because each Primarch is a demigod, effectively, and that completely changes the tone of battle. It's like, oh well, Chaos answers it with bringing Angron back. Chaos answers it by bringing Perturabo back, etc. That doesn't undo it. That just basically resets the clock effectively back to the Great Crusades. Effectively, we're basically resetting up the Horus Heresy again. But the thing is, as long as we have Primarchs on our side, we're pretty much good. Now, obviously, there's still the chance we're fucked, but it's a lot less likely now. Now it's actually likely we win. We have 2 Primarchs back. One came with an entire wave of upgraded Space Marines, super Space Marines, and the other came back and reunified one of the forces in the Imperium that could have presented a fascinating subversion of the authority of the Imperium. Because with the Dark Angels, half of them, believedly, were traitors, and the other half weren't. So it was this big like cat and mouse game of okay, who's a traitor and who's loyalist, and that created a lot of intrigue. But Lion comes back. Nope, he's everybody's unified. It was a big misunderstanding. Now everybody's cool. Like fuck you, GW. So yeah, that's been a big problem the last few years. I really wish Games Workshop hadn't done a lot of what they've done with the lore recently. I'm not against bringing the Primarchs back inherently, but first of all, the Primarchs shouldn't have been a thing in tangent with that. But also, I think they're kind of ruining what could have been a fix for, not necessarily a full fix, but what could have been a fix for the tone being very non-grimdark now. Very, very hopeful, very standard sci-fi universe. Just with slightly edgier aesthetic, I guess. What the Lion could have represented is he could have been a subversive force. Like, I'm fine with him unifying the Dark Angels if it's to fight Gilliman. Like, start a civil war within the Imperium. People are like, oh, but that's happened before. It's like, yes, but think about the worst time to do it is right now, and that's exactly why it should happen. Not only does it make sense lore-wise, because the Lion would be, as all accounts, to be pissed by what Gilliman has effectively caused the Imperium to come into fruition being. Like, the Imperium, the way it is now, is effectively entirely Gilliman's fault. And the Lion should have every which way about it for a problem with him. To the point of wanting to war with him. Maybe not openly, but certainly not aid him in any significant way. There should be tension there. There should be, for lack of a better word, drama between the Lion and Gilliman. There should be this bone-chilling hatred between the two of them. And there should be a universe consequences for it. You could easily bring back the grimdark theme by having another civil war. Even in the face of Tyranid invasion, orc infestations, Drukhari enslaving and raping people left and right, and chaos like unyielding, ever unyielding and flooding into the materium. Even through all that, yet again, there's another civil war. And that, for me, would add so much grimdark back into the setting. It's like, okay, even with Primarchs back, there's still that tone of hopelessness because, even amongst Primarchs, pettiness still stands, and there are consequences for the setting's choices. And Gilliman's consequences should be that he's not trusted by his brothers. But the problem is, the vibe I get from GW is that they're just setting up the Primarchs coming back, and they're all just going to side with Gilliman. They might write in some tension, but it's gonna be hollow tension. There's gonna be no consequence. There's gonna be no fighting, no infighting, no warring between each other, and that's a huge problem. Because again, it's turning the Primarchs into the Avengers from Marvel. For me anyway, that's effectively what they're gonna end up doing. They're just doing the slow arc of Avengers Assemble. It's just with each of the Loyalist Primarchs versus the Chaos Primarchs. So I'm not happy with the modern lore. The modern lore is very not grimdark, and I don't like that. I wish GW would go back to a grimdark universe where things were kind of hopeless. Not just for hopelessness' sake, but because of the tonal stories, the intrigue, the fascinating setups between everything. And also again that atmosphere of like, hey, like everything's fucked, yet we still endure, we still fight to the bitter end. Even if it only gives us a single more day of survival, we fight tooth and nail. Like those vibes, those aesthetics, those themes were so intriguing and engaging, and it's just I'm sad that it's not there anymore, and it's more and more getting sifted out. And GW and a lot of shills slash simps for the universe is newer lore will say, well, it's still grimdark. See, this guy died. It's like, well, that's not what makes it grimdark. Like, oh, people dying. That doesn't make it grimdark. That makes it grim or dark. But what makes something grimdark is what I described before. It's a hopeless fight against an inevitable darkness. It's everything is fucked and guaranteed to be fucked. Yet you still hold out hope. You still fight despite knowing everything's screwed. It doesn't matter that it's hopeless. You still fight. You still make your stand. Who cares if you're screwed? You will hold your ground. You will open fire when ordered, and you will not retreat. You will not run, because there is nowhere to retreat to. There is nowhere to run to. So make your stand or lie down and die. Make a choice. That was 40k, and it's not that. Now it's Marvel's Avengers. Basically what it's becoming. I don't know. I don't know if people agree with me. This is my take after all, but that's been my takeaway for a long time. For the last few years. Do you think they are building a false sense of hope because whatever the Silent King is scared shitless of is coming? I wasn't that the Tyranids? Or did they write in that it wasn't the Tyranids he was scared of? I thought it was the Tyranids he was scared shitless of. Because didn't he come back to the galaxy to warn everybody, hey, the Tyranids are here? It was, unless they changed it. Yeah, as far as I know, they haven't changed it, so it was the Tyranids. I'm indifferent about Primarchs coming back, but I can see your argument. And yeah, that's just my take. Obviously, I'm not making the state that I'm like objectively right. I think I'm right, but obviously, like anyone thinks their own opinion's right. I would certainly prefer it if we went. Obviously, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. You know, I'm not saying kill off like the lion and Gilliman, but I just wish they did something with them that still kept in line with the tone. But that's just me. I think they could do it if they wanted to, but eh. You're welcome to change of pace to a degree. I would, again, if there was still the Grimdark themes. Again, you can bring the Primarchs back, and you can have, like, sweeping changes with stuff like that, but you have to do it in a way that still fits with the tone. And, again, the easiest way they could have done that is just have the Lion and Gilliman have a fierce standoff with each other, effectively. Have a civil war. I'm not saying end it with one side winning, necessarily. Maybe end it with them being forced together back again. But have consequences. Like, have the setting really reverberate, hey, if you make choices and bad things come of them, there are consequences. Grimdark most certainly has that. In the worst senses, usually. But, I don't know, it hasn't been there yet. I don't know if... hopefully they are cooking something up between Gilliman and the Lion. But I don't know how much I'm gonna hold out hope for that. I think they're just gonna default. Sorry, I'm just oh, I guess that's part of the helmet. Fuck. Skin tone on hers applied. I kind of like that tone, so I think we're going to go with that tone for most of them. 3 different flesh tones so far, though. Feels too noble British. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now, and I'm not super fantastical about it. It would make an interesting split with the two fighting each other and players getting to pick a side, and interesting to see what the Lion would do with his half. He'd probably try. Both would try and aim to take control of Terra, I would think. That would be their first goals, because whoever takes Terra basically has the seat of the Imperium. And if you have the seat of the Imperium, you also control the Administratum. If you control the Administratum, you then immediately have influence also in the Ecclesiarchy, and likely they would side with the Lion, because Gilliman's made no allusions to the fact that he's trying to push back against the... Not fully. He could have tried to ban it, but he knows doing it so suddenly like that isn't smart. But the Ecclesiarchy aren't dumb. I'm pretty sure they'd know that Gilliman isn't a fan of them or the Imperial Cult. Neither would the Lion be. Both would have a huge problem with it. But I think the Lion is more willing to use it to his advantage, whereas Gilliman, I think... I'm not going to say Gilliman's too noble. He's not too noble, but he's more averse to like the religious fanaticism. Whereas the lion, I think, would strategically use it until it no longer served him, and then he'd throw them to the wayside and destroy them. But only after he had gotten the most amount of usage out of them as he could. So in terms of ruthlessness, I think the lion would have it. Strategically, Gilliman, as much as I hate to give him any kind of credit, would be smart to maneuver pretty quickly. So it would all come down to who wrote the book, pretty much. Because there's an argument for why the lion would take the Imperial Palace in Terra. Robert Gilliman is a prick. Yes, I know. Trust me, I know. I hate Gilliman with a passion. But there are some people who are fans of the Ultramarines, and they're fans of Gilliman, and I don't know why. I think most of them it's because they don't know, like, the story with what happened between him and Dorn. Or if they do, they excuse it in their heads. They're like, oh, well, that's not the same thing. That's just this. That's just that. Blah, blah, blah. Religious crusade against heretics, including some word bearers. Seems appropriate / ironic. Yeah. Honestly, like, there's so much they could do with Dorn v. Lion, especially again keeping in mind the other factions aren't gonna magically stay out of it. You know, like, how would the Lion respond to fighting Gilliman on one front and also having to deal with the Tyranids and also having to deal with the Orcs and having to deal with Chaos and having to deal with Jakari, the Eldar, the Harlequins, etc., etc., etc. Or the Tau. The Tau in particular would be interesting to see the Lion react to because they didn't exist. Well, they existed, but they weren't really they weren't a thing in the same sense they are now. The Tau Empire wasn't a thing last time the Lion was awake, so I kind of would love to see his reaction to being told about them. He's like, yes, the Orcs, the Greenskin, I remember them well. The Drukari, the Eldar, and the arch enemy. All these things I know. What the hell is that? What? What the hell is that? That? Oh, that's a Tau. The fuck is a Tau? You might want to sit down, brother. So, communism. Gurren was all like, hey, Dorn, I know you went to chase the people that killed Dad, but I took over the Imperium while you were gone. Yeah, I know. The High Lord said it was okay. Now split you sons up. Yeah, that's how it happened. Yep. And again, like, I've spoken to Ultramarine fans, and when you tell them or talk to them about that part of the lore, you get one of three responses. One, absolution. It's like, oh, well, it had to happen, because if Gilliman didn't do what he did, the Imperium would be screwed, and Dorn wouldn't have been a good leader. Bullshit, I say, and I have many examples to say that's wrong. But they try that, absolution. Or they ignore it completely, what you just said, and like be like, well, that didn't happen, or it didn't happen that way. It's like, I literally can read you the books. This is exactly how it happened. Eat dirt. Or the third one, and my favorite, so we have absolution, trying to brush it off, and then running away. That one I'm also familiar with. Like, those three are what I deal with the most. Like, they either point it out to them and they just don't confront it, and they just, if it's like on a comment reply thing, they don't respond. If it's on a video or like a voice call, they just hang up. You know, that happens quite frequently as well. I don't know, my eyes are getting really dry. Fuck. I don't even hate the Smurfs. That was Matt Ward's fault. Yeah. Matt Ward did the Ultramarines. He thought he was doing them a service, but honestly, he did them the biggest disservice. He leads the fists, right? Dorn? Dorn leads the fists. Gilliman leads the Ultramarines. Yeah, the guy that almost single-handedly held the line for decades against 8 legions is a bad leader. I know. Again, I've had this argument so many fucking times. Yeah, Dorn was the Primarch of the Imperial Fist Legion, and also the father. That also means he's the Primarch of the Black Templars. Excuse me, the Crimson Fists. If I recall correctly, at one point, I think they were like the Golden Chalice or something like that. They were believed to be like the Sons of Dorn, but it was confirmed later they weren't. So now they're of unknown parentage. He was rude to Siggy Boy, though. Well, yeah. Dorn has his flaws. Most of the Primarchs do. But I think the thing is, I think Dorn was probably one of the better fathers, so to speak, over the rest. And you got to keep in mind, he didn't see what Sigismund saw. Because that's something that's a very big point to bring up about that whole thing, is Sigismund would have talked to himself the way Dorn did. He would have reproached himself the same way. He would have rebuked himself the same way Dorn rebuked him before the visions Euphrates Kila shared with him. That should tell you how powerful, how potent those visions were. That Euphrates Kila showed Sigismund that Sigismund, who was a devout atheist, he believed in the imperial truth. He was Dorn's right-hand man, a mini Dorn, effectively, in personality, except he was a little bit more aggressive. And also a little bit more smarmy, I would argue. But that was Sigismund. And it took one vision and a conversation with Euphrates Kila to turn that into basically the opposite of what he was. Not fundamentally, he was still the same person, but his beliefs were completely upheaved and shattered. But Dorn didn't see what he saw. And personally, I'm under the belief that if Dorn had seen the vision Sigismund had seen, if they had shared that vision, if they had both been allowed to experience that together, there would never have been that break between them. Because I believe if you could break Sigismund and convince Sigismund of divinity and power and the future that happened, you could have done that to Dorn as well. I believe they were just as stubborn as each other. So that, for me, like that's part of the tragedy of the situation is Sigismund didn't get to see the vision. And he was making swath judgments off of what he was told by Sigismund. So Dorn made a call based on that alone. Plus, you got to keep in mind the situation. His favored brother, or his closest brother. Everyone's favorite brother was Sanguinius, but Dorn's favored brother had just betrayed him. And keep in mind, when he was told that Horus had turned traitor, he nearly killed the messenger. He was ready to kill him. The only reason he didn't is Dorn was shown impeccable proof that Horus had betrayed him and the Imperium. And Euphrates Kila herself said, as he walked away from Nathaniel Garrow, she told, I believe it was Nathaniel Garrow. Yeah. She told him, like, today you broke a brother's heart. And Dorn's heart broke when he found out that Horus had turned, because Horus was his closest brother. Sanguinius was everybody's favorite brother, so that's kind of by default. But Horus and Dorn were close. I won't say they were like I would say in terms of closeness, probably the two closest siblings amongst the Primarchs was Fulgrim and Ferrus Manus. The two of them were thick as thieves. That's why Ferrus took Fulgrim's fall so badly. The two of them were as close as brothers could be. At least that's how it was described. I think it's a big tragedy we don't get as much on that brotherhood, but that was always the implication, is they were the two closest, outside of, like, Alpharius and Omegon. But they're twins, so that's a whole thing. But in terms of two actually different brothers, there was no one closer than Ferrus and Fulgrim. But the next closest pairing, I would make the argument, would probably be Horus and Dorn. Some people would say Horus and Sanguinius. I don't agree. Sanguinius was everybody's favorite. Nobody disliked Sanguinius or hated him. Except maybe Angron. Maybe Angron. But everybody else liked him. Even Conrad Kurz liked Sanguinius, okay? Everybody fucking liked him. The only reason I say Angron might have disliked him is Angron was constantly angry at everybody, so... Again, by default. So, yeah, Dorn and Horus were close. So to hear that he'd betrayed him was a major blow. So on top of that, also having your right-hand man come to you and say, because of religious babble, I refuse to follow your orders. And may have put your strategies at risk, and therefore also the Imperium. And also squandered the trust the Emperor put in you. You put in me, and therefore the trust the Emperor put in you. Yeah, there was no way that was good. There was really no scenario where that could have been worse for Sigismund. But Sigismund knew that, but still came clean to him. Keep that in mind. Sigismund's smartest move would have been to lie, or to avoid answering any question about why he didn't go to the Isfahan system when ordered. Instead, and you can make the argument Dorn would have known when he was lying, and I would agree. But still, it would have been smarter to try that, arguably. But no, he came clean. He's like, listen, Dorn, this is why I did what I did. And Dorn probably wanted to kill him, but again, for his love of Sigismund as his son, he allowed him to live. That is the biggest. That's the biggest takeaway I need to remind people of is, and I stand by it. Some would argue it's not the case, but I firmly believe that the reason Sigismund lived to face Abaddon when the first Black Crusade came for the galaxy and for the Materium was because Dorn loved his son. Dorn loved Sigismund. He was his right-hand man and in some ways his best friend. Not as an equal, but certainly as like a boss to, as a father to a son. Like they were close, and for Sigismund to betray, in Dorn's eyes, a lot of his fundamental beliefs, that was too much. And there was no coming back from that. So Dorn did what he felt he had to do. Oh, we're talking about Angron now. Okay. Well, that's fitting with World Eaters. We'll do this guy next. I'll probably go for darker skin tone again. Angron was the mistake. Angron was. Honestly, this is an example of the lore being poorly written by certain writers. And this is why, like, when it comes to conversations about lore, you get a lot of deviation, even on topics that are old as hell. Like Angron. There's a lot of argument of, like, why did the Emperor handle Angron's situation the way that he did? Like, it's a very complicated scenario. And this is where a lot of, like, the characterization of the Emperor is really fucked up. Because we have no clue why Emps and all that is handled so poorly by GW, honestly. Like, in one book, he'll be like this mysterious Sherlock, like, intelligent, strategic genius and carefully planning every single step, and he's just this impenetrable force that is nigh incomprehensible. And then in another book, he, like the Angron stuff, he's fucking dumb as hell. Like, basic logic he completely lacks. Like, that is a... Jesus, my throat. That is an ongoing issue throughout the lore, is how the Emperor is portrayed. And it's only gotten worse over time. Like, in the earliest days, he was a very mysterious figure with a lot of intrigue around him. And then as time went on and as they added more lore, and as so many different writers approached it, we got so many different characterizations of the Emperor. So, It really at this point, it's Schrodinger's Emperor of like who the fuck the character is. Fuck Erebus? Of course, fuck Erebus. Erebus is hands down the worst fucking character. Not, keep in mind, when I say worst character, I don't mean a bad, really written character. I mean he is a douche. But that's the thing. When it comes to like characterization, ironically, I think the character that has the most consistency is Erebus. Like throughout the lore, I think Erebus is the best handled character. Granted, he's not in everything for good reason. But he's consistently a prick through all of it. So, to give credit where credit's due, they handled Erebus well throughout the lore because he's so amazingly... He's kind of like Joffrey from Game of Thrones. It's just, you can't help but hate him with every cell of your body. They did that well in terms of his character. I wish other characters were as consistent. Fuck Erebus, who isn't even Erebus. I'm pretty sure Erebus is spelled E-R-E-B-U-S, not E-R-I. Unless I've been spelling it wrong for a while now. Erebus. Okay. Yeah, I'm right. E-R-E. Or that Umbridge lady from Harry Potter. I suppose. I don't know. I never hated her. Like, I hated her, obviously. But I didn't hate her as much as I hated, like, Joffrey or... Yeah, Erebus. Erebus is, like, the peak, like, hatred of a character. He doesn't deserve proper spelling. You're damn right he doesn't, I suppose. Yeah, fuck Erebus. Good God. Like, literally everything is his fault. But the thing is, like... There's actually a character worse than Erebus in terms of fault. A character whom without Erebus would have never been what he was. Or any character would be who they are. Erda, the Emperor's wife. Or, well, not wife, companion. Perpetual companion. The woman who had a hissy fit when the Emperor said, "No, these fucking clones we made in a vat are not my children. They are weapons of war, woman. Now get." And she had a hissy fit over a custody dispute, and using her powers opened a portal to the fucking warp. And tossed her children through that she loved so much and was so afraid the Emperor would use them and abuse them as weapons of war like they were made for. Like, what did she think when they made them? Like, that's the part that always sticks with me. It's like, woman, you donated your genetics, for lack of a better term, to water down the Emperor's genes. So these things would be slightly weaker than him. Still very powerful. You're both perpetuals. You're both psychically in tune beings. So your children will be as well. But effectively, you're making slightly weaker emperors. They're one notch less powerful. Well, one or two notches less powerful. What did you think the purpose was? Oh, well, this is just a weird way of conception. No! The Emperor always intended them to be weapons. But then you got... I don't know what happened. Like, during the early part where she was like, oh yeah, I don't care. And then all of a sudden it's like, maternal instinct. You can't do this to my babies. Then he went, well, I am, and I'm going to. And you can't stop me. Opens up portal, tosses all their fetus asses through. There, you'll never hurt my children. Woman, do you just know what you just did? Yes? So you intentionally just threw these children that you loved so much through the warp. Yeah? Okay. Do you know partially why I'm conquering the galaxy and why I'm instituting the Imperial Truth? Yeah? But just so we're clear, can you refresh me? It's because there's fucking chaos gods, you bitch. You just threw our children. Which, for me, it's still a loss because they're my fucking weapons of war. But for you, your children through hell. Literally through hell. Mother of the fucking year. Oh my god. And literally every single fucking problem can be originated to that hissy fit she threw due to a custody dispute. She took the kids, and because of it, she took the future of the galaxy, you fucking bitch. But it's so funny. She screwed everything. Honestly, the biggest crime, like, some people say, like, the biggest crime she represents is what she takes away from the Emperor. Honestly, Astartes did that to the Emperor more than anything. She designed the Space Marines, and that takes away the Emperor's involvement in their invention. I hate that so much. So that's more of a problem in terms of that. Honestly, the problem comes in with Erda is, well, on top of everything being able to be traced back to a fucking hissy fit she threw, but she also takes away so much agency and significance from the Chaos Gods. Because before her, the story between of the Primarchs and all that and them getting scattering was this big 4D chess move that they pulled. Like they outsmarted, outclevered the Emperor, and through orchestrating events were able to ensure that the Horus Heresy went the way that it did. That made them so imposing and so omnipresent as a threat. But now that's completely thrown out the fucking window, because now, guess what? They just got lucky some woman really fucking couldn't understand the whole purpose of what she was working on. Good God. She pulled the "if I can't have them, no one can" kind of thing. Pretty much. And the problem is, well, the thing is, it would have been better if she killed them. Like, honestly, if I can't have them, no one can, and she killed them. That would have been better. The Emperor would have, like, crushed her skull in. Because it's like, all that work undone because you had to be a bitch. But that aside, woman. She did something worse. She threw them through hell. Literally threw them through hell. Her whole motivation for getting rid of them and sending them through the warp was because she loved them and didn't want the Emperor to get his hands on them. Bitch! You can open rifts in the warp. Therefore you know what it is. Or have a basic understanding. You were part of the Emperor's closest fucking camaraderie group. You were one of his groupies. You know what he's facing. You just threw all the Primarchs at the enemy. And what, crossed your fingers and hoped nothing bad would happen? What? I don't understand why he didn't erase her right there. I don't either. The implication is because he did have affections for her. So he just exiled her. He just said, bitch, get out. Which, that part of it I don't mind too much. It's because, again, it's already established the Emperor is an emotional person. This is why I don't like his portrayal when Guilliman, after his revival, visits the Emperor and all he senses is the appreciation of a tool. Now, to be fair, there's the argument of, oh, the Emperor feels that way because of the state he's in. And also, you know, spending 10,000 years in a fucking chair as a pile of bones with a bunch of tubes connected to you as you're barely fucking alive. That would make anyone pretty fucking petty, and plus a lot of the problems in the universe in the current Imperium can be traced back to Guilliman's decisions. So, yeah, thinking Guilliman, oh, yes, my old useful tool, how are you? Is kind of understandable. But at the same time, the implication from the book wasn't that. The implication was that that's what he always truly felt. And that Gilliman could sense it because the normal psychic defense from being able to be read and, like, mind probed by others, the Emperor wasn't able to maintain because of his weakened state. So the implication is that's how he always felt about the Primarchs, which doesn't line up very well. Because the whole reason he's in that fucking chair is because he refused to kill his favorite son on the basis of love. So for me, like, him having the sentiments and like affections to Erda not to kill her, it makes sense. And the thing is, I don't have problem with the concept of Erda, like a woman perpetual that aided the Emperor in creating the Primarchs. I can work with that. As long as her contribution pretty much was down to she provided her genetics so the Emperors could be watered down, for lack of a better term, to something not on his level. Because if the Primarchs were all on his level from the outset, imagine 21 Emperors. Because you have 20 Primarchs and the Emperor. So 21 Emperors in the galaxy. That could be a really good fucking thing, or a really, 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 really fucking bad situation. So it makes sense that he would want to water them down, and it would make sense he would then need some kind of medium in which to water them down. So using a human perpetual ally of his and using her genetics to water them down, and plus she's a woman, he's a man, so human genetics are meant to work like that, male and female. So there's already a basis for that. Not saying they did the deed and that's how the Primarch's going to be. No, she gave, like, genetics in a test tube. But still. Like, all of that I'm fine with. The problem is, again, the agency she robs from the Chaos Gods. How powerful she's portrayed to be next to the Emperor. Like, so much of that is where the bad comes in. I don't mind the concept prior to that. But it's those details that really make it all bad. Like, really fucking bad. Jeez, what time is it? Okay. I know I didn't get very much done Well, I got all the bases done, so there's that. You know, I don't want to discredit myself with the base. Like, the bases are all done, so that's good. You know, those are all ready to go. But, I know I spent most of it rambling, but after all, I think you guys are mostly here for the Bants anyway. I'm sorry I didn't multitask. I should have done that better, but long day, my brain isn't as, you know, flexible as it should be. So, I think I'm going to call it there. I'm probably going to head to bed. I'll probably leave all this here. I don't know if I'll do a stream in the morning, but I'm going to leave all this here. Try to distract you from painting. But no. Like, the streams are more about interacting with you guys than painting anyway. You were painting? Yeah. Thanks. Yes, I was. I painted my bases and, yeah. But it's fine. It's fine. I'll pick these guys back up tomorrow, probably. So I'm just going to leave these guys here, put a cover on my wet palette, and I'm going to head to bed. Before I head out, though, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, all that fun stuff. And thank you guys. I want to say this. Thank you guys for salvaging my day, because I did have a bad day. It was a rough one. I was really looking forward for today, and things didn't work out how I wanted them to. You know, my bad luck struck again, but you guys really turned it around for me, and I can't understate that enough. So, thank you. Thank you a lot. I appreciate it. Like, these conversations really... I don't want to get sappy. Like, I don't. Because I don't want you guys to be like, oh, that was dramatic. But I appreciate it. I'll just put it that way. I appreciate it a lot. So, thank you guys. Anyway, I won't be too sappy. Have a good night, guys. Love ya. Catch ya maybe tomorrow. It depends. Like, it's my day off, but there's a couple things I gotta do that aren't YouTube related. So, if I do see you guys tomorrow, awesome. If not, I hope you guys have an amazing Monday. And take care of yourselves, okay? Bye-bye.